Chapter 399. What's going on? Jing Qingtian can't fight anymore? No way. What happened just now? Both the spectators and the participating prodigies were discussing among themselves, not knowing what had happened. Soon, the Blue Lightning Emperor announced that Jing Qingtian couldn't fight anymore and that he would lose all his battles from now on. This announcement made countless gazes turn to Qin Yu. They couldn't hide their shock and fear. He had the means to make the top 10 prodigies lose their ability to fight. Qin Yu's strength was a bit too frightening. Qin Yu ignored those gazes and left the arena. Jing Qingtian's soul had merged with the ancient evil spirit's soul. When Qin Yu used the soul-devouring curse to kill the ancient evil spirit's soul, Jing Qingtian's soul was naturally injured. In fact, his injuries were far worse than Kong Bitao's. It was unknown whether he could wake up. Consecutively defeating the top 10 veteran prodigies with ease, everyone's anticipation of Qin Yu challenging Wan Tianya's Wu Wudi also increased. Judging from Qin Yu's current attacks, the rest of the top 10 prodigies were Wu Wudi. Only Wu Wudi and Wu Wudi were qualified to be Qin Yu's opponents. The 92nd round, Yi Xiaoning vs. Wu Wudi. After several rounds of battles, Yi Xiaoning met the two heroes of the 10,000 martial sect first than Qin Yu. This time, Yi Xiaoning didn't give up like he did during the elimination round. In fact, Yi Xiaoning had been showing off since the start of the ranking battles. He was invincible. Many people guessed that Yi Xiaoning's goal was to be number 1. Begin. As soon as the Blue Lightning Emperor's voice fell, Yi Xiaoning crossed the void and slashed with his sword. His attacks were the same as before. It was as if Wu Wudi was no different from Xianyuan Wentian and Jin Wushuang in his eyes. Heh, it looks like you've underestimated me. Wu Wudi chuckled when he saw this. Waves of soul-crushing wind and thunder sounded from his body. Immediately after, violent and destructive winds and thunderbolts suddenly exploded. Everything within a radius of 1,000 miles had turned into a world of wind and thunder. The destructive wind and thunder were wreaking havoc in this world. The power of wind and thunder vibrated and amplified each other, creating a vast might. Qi La. Amidst the mighty wind and lightning, resplendent sword light flickered as Yi Xiaoning stepped out in the air. But at this moment, Wu Wudi had already disappeared. Of course, he didn't really disappear. However, Wu Wudi's entire body transformed into a bolt of wind and thunder, blending into the wind and thunder of the world. That was why it looked like it had disappeared. Not only does the Tao of wind and thunder possess a destructive power, but it also possesses a speed that can be counted with one's fingers. Even though Yi Xiaoning has comprehended a supreme sword might, if a rank 9 martial emperor commented. However, before he could finish his words, he stopped abruptly. Hundreds of millions of light swords exploded from Yi Xiaoning's body, shooting out in all directions. Wherever the light sword passed, the raging storm and thunderstorm were immediately shattered, and the world became empty. Wu Wudi's advantage immediately vanished. Pucci. A figure emerged from the vanishing storm. It was Wu Wudi. A sword wound appeared on Wu Wudi's right arm and blood flowed out. Yi Xiaoning's sudden explosion of hundreds of millions of light swords had injured him. Fortunately, his injury wasn't serious. However, Wu Wudi's expression was no longer as relaxed as before. Even Wan Tianya's expression gradually turned solemn. It seemed that Yi Xiaoning's true strength had only begun to be displayed at this moment. Martial God's bloodline, divine blood berserk! Wu Wudi shouted, and waves of berserk blood energy erupted from his body. His aura immediately skyrocketed. Wu Wudi's cultivation had already reached the peak of rank 7 martial emperor, and now, his martial god's bloodline had erupted. His aura was so strong that even many of the older rank 8 martial emperors on the battle stage felt their hearts palpitate. The current Wu Wudi definitely possessed the strength to fight against them. Martial shattering the firmament. There was a deafening explosion as Wu Wudi used an ancient mystic technique and punched out. The destructive shockwave shook heaven and earth, and countless cracks appeared in the Sumeru world. Imperial sword, kill! Yi Xiaoning's gaze became sharper as he formed hand seals. The rusty iron sword floated above his head, and a crisp and ear-splitting sword hum sounded. It was as if an ancient sword emperor had returned. Swoosh! In the next instant, the iron sword shook and turned into a ray of light, flashing through the void. The sound of flesh being pierced rang out. Wu Wudi's fist was ferocious, and his aura was incomparably fierce. The rusty iron sword pierced through both his fist and his body, and his divine fist exploded. As for Wu Wudi, a bloody hole appeared in his abdomen. However, neither the divine fist nor the hole in Wu Wudi's body were caused by the iron sword. The rusty iron sword was suppressed by an azure lightning beast when it was still several feet away from Yi Xiaoning. Even so, the sword energy on the iron sword still pierced through the void. Not only did it shatter Wu Wudi's attack, but it also pierced through his body. With a single strike, Wu Wudi was seriously injured. Wu Wudi was actually defeated? This, looking at the bloodied Wu Wudi, whose aura was incomparably weak, the crowd was shocked. Even the original discussion gradually disappeared at this moment. This battle had exceeded everyone's expectations. Wu Wudi, who had always been ranked second, had been defeated by Yi Xiaoning with a single strike, sword-wielding art. Amidst the crowd's shock, Qin Yu's eyes flashed. The sword-wielding art was a secret technique of the Divine Sword Sect, one of the top 10 ancient divine sections. However, ever since the primordial era was destroyed, this secret technique had been completely lost. Looking at all the ancient books, there were only records of it from the primordial era. Who would have thought that this divine sword technique would fall into Yi Xiaoning's hands? This made Qin Yu even more certain that this guy was the reincarnation of the Sky Barrier Sword Immortal. Although he didn't know why Yi Xiaoning hadn't used the Sky Barrier Sword technique, he still didn't know. I'm afraid his combat strength is no weaker than yours. Be careful. Wu Wudi, who had used a secret technique to suppress his injuries, left the arena and transmitted a message to Wan Tianya. Don't worry. He will be defeated by me. Wan Tianya's gaze was steady, but his aura was incomparably fierce, shattering the winds and clouds of myriad worlds. Even if Yi Xiaoning had the strength to easily defeat Wu Wudi, he was still full of confidence. No one in this batch of youths would be his match. 93 RD round, Qin Yu vs Wan Tianya. In this round, the heat of the battle between Yi Xiaoning and Wu Wudi had yet to pass. Another battle of the pinnacle was ushered in. The atmosphere immediately exploded. The strongest newcomer versus the strongest senior. This battle was even more exciting than the battle between Yi Xiaoning and Wu Wudi. Countless gazes looked at Qin Yu, wondering if Qin Yu would accept the battle. Everyone present could see that the current Wan Tianya was definitely not to be trifled with. Ever since Wu Wudi was defeated, Wan Tianya's aura had clearly become more and more ferocious. Previously, the prodigies who had challenged him had all forfeited. If Qin Yu accepted the battle, he would definitely be attacked by Wan Tianya's violent attacks. Chapter 400. Whoosh! However, Qin Yu, without the slightest hesitation, leapt onto the stage. Qin Yu did not have much interest in the spiritual state's war rankings number 1. However, Yi Xiaoning's goal was obviously to obtain number 1. This made Qin Yu slightly concerned. This celestial Qilin city was able to cause the good fortune immortal seal to tremble. Yi Xiaoning was a reincarnator. Regardless of who he was, since he was so interested in the number 1 spot on the war ranking, Qin Yu naturally had to fight with him. Qin Yu naturally wants to fight for it too. This is a good opportunity to test Yi Xiaoning's ability. Wan Tianya's figure flashed as he crossed the sky and appeared on the stage. The ferocious aura emitted from his body was like a ferocious beast that had been released from its cage. Looking at your previous battles, you should still be holding back. However, you are no match for me. Come and challenge me in the next war ranking. Wan Tianya formed a fist with his right hand. the great Tao of heaven and earth and boundless true energy condensed within his right fist. The ripples that were emitted caused even the air to feel a little sticky. Many martial emperors' eyes twitched when they saw this. Wan Tianya's control of the great Tao's energy was actually not overflowing in the slightest. This was something that only a peak rank 8 or rank 9 martial emperor could do. Could it be that Wan Tianya had surpassed rank 7 and entered rank 8 martial emperor in 3 years? If rank 5 martial emperor and rank 6 martial emperor were to be said to be a dividing line, then rank 6 martial emperor and rank 6 martial emperor were to be considered as a dividing line. Then from rank 7 to rank 8 was an abyss. Otherwise, rank 8 and rank 9 martial emperors would not be called peak martial emperors. Next war ranking? Oh. Qin Yu laughed. 3 years later, he would no longer be in this kind of money pit. 9 divine king fists. Wan Tianya did not mind Qin Yu's expression. Since Qin Yu had already stepped onto the stage, he would naturally not shrink back from the battle. When his aura reached its peak, Wan Tianya shouted. Like a bolt from the blue, a deafening explosion sounded in the sky. Immediately, Wan Tianya was like a rainbow piercing through the sun as he punched towards Qin Yu with a boundless fist aura. The void shattered as 9 dazzling fists of divine light that were as bright as the sun blasted out like stars chasing after the sun. Azure Dragon battling the heavens! Indestructible Stone Emperor Seal. The instant Wan Tianya blasted out, Qin Yu already made his move. His cultivation immediately skyrocketed, and an intense light filled his eyes. An ancient seal that was 10 feet in size condensed around him. However, around the ancient seal, a figure of 1,000 feet appeared. It looked as if the ancient Stone Emperor had reappeared, holding the indestructible Stone Emperor's seal in his hand. Rumble! 9 rays of divine light suddenly bombarded Qin Yu, and an earth-shattering explosion sounded. Violent fluctuations that could destroy heaven and earth raged between heaven and earth. It was incomparably terrifying. He actually blocked it? After the countless onlookers were shocked by Wan Tianya's frightening fighting strength, they discovered something. The indestructible Stone Emperor seal around Qin Yu only trembled violently before it blocked the 9 fists of destruction. This caused the bystanders to be even more astonished. One should know that the ancient frost demon, who had merged with the soul of the ancient demon god, was defeated by Wan Tianya's punch. Qin Yu, who was only a rank 2 martial emperor, was actually able to block it without suffering any injuries? How could the defense of the indestructible Stone Emperor seal be so powerful? Compared to the previous battle, it seemed to be on a completely different level. Rank 6 martial emperor? However, soon, someone came back to their senses. They immediately discovered that Qin Yu's cultivation was no longer that of a rank 5 martial emperor. Instead, it had reached rank 6 martial emperor. Since that's the case, his defense is simply too frightening. Indeed, Sun Shiyu has also used the indestructible divine seal. However, compared to Shunfeng, the power of the two is on a completely different level. In that case, Shunfeng's status in the Heavenly Imperial Palace is above Sun Shiyu's. If that's the case, Wan Tianya will have no choice but to undo the seal. With the defense of the divine seal, if Wan Tianya were to suppress his cultivation and not go all out, Shunfeng would be in an undefeatable position. A series of discussions took place among the crowd. It seems that I've still underestimated you. This year's newcomers are indeed very powerful. However, this is still not your world. Wan Tianya was shocked to see Qin Yu blocking the 9 divine king's fists head-on. However, this also aroused Wan Tianya's battle intent. Mysterious and ancient spirit runes covered Wan Tianya's body. It was like a divine rune battle armor. Especially on his forehead, there was an ancient spirit rune battle armor condensed into a silhouette. A might from the great desolate era engulfed the entire region. Rank 8 martial emperor? He actually really became a rank 8 martial emperor. His talent is simply too frightening. No one in the younger generation is a match for him. A true prodigy. After a moment of silence, bursts of shocked cries sounded non-stop. Although they had guessed that Wan Tianyao had become a rank 8 martial emperor, they were still incomparably shocked when they saw it with their own eyes. After all, Wan Tianyao was someone who could participate in the next spiritual state war ranking. With such talent, there was likely no one in the martial emperor generation in the spiritual state that could compare to him. Even Yi Xiaoning's expression changed a little. It was true that he was an emperor expert when he was alive. However, after reincarnation, no matter how strong he was, there was still a limit. Wan Tianyao made him feel a bit of pressure. Of course, it was only a bit. Thinking of that, Yi Xiaoning couldn't help but look at Qin Yu. In the end, his gaze became serious. Facing Wan Tianyao, who was a rank 8 martial emperor, Qin Yu's expression didn't change in the slightest. It wasn't only Yi Xiaoning who noticed Qin Yu's expression. Wu Wudi knew Wan Tianya's strength very well. Thus, he was paying attention to Qin Yu's reaction. When he saw Qin Yu's calm expression, for some unknown reason, his heart sank. A trace of a bad premonition emerged. Could it be that Qin Yu was still hiding his strength? It seems that I will have to go all out. Seeing Wan Tianyao, whose aura was as dazzling as the sun, Qin Yu smiled. Go all out? Wan Tianya's brows slightly twitched. However, his gaze suddenly became serious. He saw that Qin Yu's cultivation had actually increased again. It directly broke through rank 6 martial emperor and entered rank 7 martial emperor. When Qin Yu was a rank 1 martial emperor, the azure dragon battling the heavens was able to increase his cultivation to rank 6 martial emperor. Now that his cultivation had entered rank 2 martial emperor, the might of the azure dragon battling the heavens was naturally stronger. The countless spectators who were originally shocked by Wan Tianya's display of rank 8 martial emperor's cultivation were now deathly silent. Even those emperor realm experts revealed shocked expressions. There were countless secret techniques and divine abilities that could increase one's cultivation in the heaven domain. However, Qin Yu's increase from rank 2 martial emperor to rank 7 martial emperor was extremely rare even in the entire heaven domain. Every single one of them was a famous divine technique in the history of the heaven domain. However, the divine technique that Qin Yu used and the aura rippling from his body didn't match any of the known divine technique. Could it be that it was newly researched by the Heaven Emperor Palace? Chapter 401. Of course, those Emperor Realm experts were only surprised. The greater the amplification of a secret technique, the greater the price one had to pay. Many people even felt that it was unwise for Qin Yu to use that kind of secret technique in a moment of danger. Such a secret technique could only be used at a crucial moment. Even though the heavenly imperial palace's Shi Tiangang and the others did not know where Qin Yu's secret technique came from, they all had the same thought. Unfortunately, they did not know that Qin Yu only consumed dragon aura when he used the azure dragon heaven battling. As for dragon aura, to Qin Yu, who had already subdued 2 dragons, no matter how much it consumed, he could still afford it. Exactly what is the origin of this brat? Yi Xiaoning, who originally felt some pressure from Wan Tianyao, could not help but reveal astonishment in his eyes. Before he had awakened his memories, he had fought against Qin Yu. Thus, he had some impression of Qin Yu's secret technique. But now the amplification of this secret technique had completely exceeded his expectations. When he was a martial ancestor, his cultivation could be amplified by several levels. When he was a martial emperor, his cultivation could also be amplified by several levels. Then, what about after he became a martial emperor? Thinking of this, a trace of light flashed through Yi Xiaoning's eyes. Did you think that you would be able to handle me after increasing your cultivation to rank 7 martial emperor? Although Wan Tianyao was astonished by Qin Yu's secret technique, he did not feel the slightest bit of pressure. In his unsealed state, not to mention a rank 7 martial emperor that had only increased his cultivation to rank 7 martial emperor through the use of a secret technique. Even if a rank 8 martial emperor were to appear, he would not fear him in the slightest. We will only know whether or not I can handle you after we fight. Qin Yu smiled. The divine light on his body grew even denser. His aura was as vast as the ocean and unfathomable. I'm really curious as to where your confidence comes from. Wan Tianya laughed loudly. His figure flashed, and like a blazing sun, he instantly appeared before Qin Yu. His fists, which contained the power of the great Tao of destruction, were like 2 mountains as they smashed forward. They emitted a might capable of crushing heaven and earth. As his cultivation base was unsealed, Wan Tianya executed the God King's 9 fists again. It was as though he was reborn. The 9 underworld's dragon seal appeared in Qin Yu's palm. Numerous pitch-black dragon patterns spread out and covered the Sky Splitter Spear. The Sky Splitter Spear, which flickered with divine light, seemed to have materialized, as if it was a real ancient divine weapon. Boom! Boom! The fist and the spear collided with each other, causing a series of deafening explosions. Along with the berserk and destructive quintessential essence and great Tao, they wreaked havoc in the world. Qin Yu and Wan Tianya's speeds were extremely swift, and they were like 2 bolts of lightning that collided in the sky. Killing moves were executed successively as they unfolded an intense battle. The Emperor Realm Masters of the 10,000 Martial Sect and the Heavenly Imperial Palace were all quite nervous when they saw this kind of killing technique. It looked like they were even more nervous than the 2 people fighting on the stage. Boom! When Wan Tianya sent out another divine fist, it was shattered by Qin Yu's Mountain River Seal and the Sky-Splitting Divine Spear. Wan Tianya quickly retreated and pulled apart the distance between him and Qin Yu. He looked at Qin Yu with a grave expression. Originally, he thought that even if Qin Yu increased his cultivation to rank 7 martial emperor, he would still be able to suppress him. But when they truly fought, he discovered that Qin Yu's increase in cultivation wasn't just a simple one. His combat techniques and divine abilities had all been raised by several levels, especially the War Emperor transformation. The transformation of various ancient divine weapons made him feel suppressed. He felt as if he had a body full of power but had nowhere to use it. I never thought that I would be forced to this point by you. In the next moment, Wan Tianya, who was looking at Qin Yu with a grave expression, emitted a terrifying aura. The boundless aura was like an ancient beast that was quietly awakening. Countless people felt their hearts palpitate. Divine King Bloodline! A strange light flashed in the blue lightning Emperor's eyes. Compared to 3 years ago, Wan Tianya's Divine King aura was even more powerful. If this continued, Wan Tianya might revert back to his ancestral state and become an ancient Divine King. Unrivaled Divine King! Wan Tianya shouted as his Divine King bloodline awakened. Without any superfluous movements, he directly shot a punch at Qin Yu from the sky. A divine seal filled with boundless divine might broke through the sky. Following that, the void exploded inch by inch, creating a long, chaotic, and shattered region. Whoosh! Qin Yu wasn't afraid. He became one with the spear and broke through the sky with unrivaled might. The instant he rushed out, a layer of purple lightning revolved around the sky-splitting divine spear. Under the purple lightning, there were also pitch-black dragon marks spreading. Kacha! In the blink of an eye, Qin Yu, who was one with the spear, collided with the boundless divine seal. After the 2 of them were in a deadlock for a moment, a crisp Kacha sound was heard. Then, under Wan Tianya's shocked and disbelieving gaze, the sky-splitting divine spear was pierced. The sky-splitting divine spear pierced through the divine seal and turned into countless fragments that scattered in all directions. The instant the sky-splitting divine spear shattered the divine seal, the sky-splitting divine spear pierced towards Wan Tianya with world-destroying might. Wan Tianyao, who had just used the unrivaled Divine King's ultimate move, seemed to have consumed a lot of energy. His aura was clearly much weaker, and even his reaction was slower by half a beat. Bang! Just as the sky-splitting divine spear was about to kill Wan Tianyao, lightning flashed. The Azure Lightning Emperor made his move. An Azure Lightning Beast bit the sky-splitting divine spear, preventing it from advancing any further. With Kong Bitao as a precedent, the Azure Lightning Emperor took extra care of Qin Yu. He directly used his Dao power to suppress Qin Yu. Shen Feng wins. Naturally, the Azure Lightning Emperor's move also meant that Wan Tianyao was defeated. Even after the Azure Lightning Emperor's announcement, Wan Tianyao's eyes were still filled with unconcealable shock. Not to mention Wan Tianyao, even the countless spectators in the surroundings were incomparably silent. This was probably the only battle that didn't have the slightest bit of discussion after it ended. This was also very normal. After all, Wan Tianyao had awakened his Divine King bloodline and used his ultimate move at the end. Even those martial emperors of the older generation who had been rank 8 martial emperors for hundreds of years felt a chill run down their spines. They had thought that Wan Tianyao would undoubtedly win. But in the end, Qin Yu had easily shattered Wan Tianyao's attack. Such a huge contrast made them feel disbelief. At this moment, in a remote corner of the spectators, there were 3 silhouettes calmly watching the outcome of the battle on the battle stage. The 3 people's gazes were incomparably indifferent. There were no fluctuations in their emotions. They were also not affected by Qin Yu defeating Wan Tianyao. Such a monstrous existence actually appeared in this generation of the heavenly imperial palace. The more monstrous one's aptitude is, the more important it is to the heavenly imperial palace. If he dies, the heavenly imperial palace will definitely go crazy. Ever since the appearance of these peak forces, the 4 regions' forces have been restrained. Because of this, the spiritual state has become peaceful. It's also time to give them a reign of terror. How are the preparations in the middle state? They've already taken advantage of this heavenly ranking election to complete the plan. The doomsday of the heaven region. Haha, I'm really looking forward to it. As the spectators gradually regained their senses, a huge commotion soared into the sky. The 3 silhouettes quietly left the crowd of onlooking martial artists. Chapter 402. Qin Yu defeated Wan Tianyao and became the strongest newcomer in history. This caused an uproar. Countless spectators were discussing fervently. No one noticed the disappearance of the 3 people. Right now, everyone was discussing 2 things. Could Yi Xiaoning be like Qin Yu and defeat Wan Tianyao? If Yi Xiaoning could win, then, between the 2 newcomers, Qin Yu and Yi Xiaoning, who would be able to take first place and step onto the peak of the spiritual state's younger generation? Of course, if Yi Xiaoning's fighting strength was inferior to Wan Tianyao, then Qin Yu would be number 1 without a doubt. Ever since he defeated Wan Tianyao, Qin Yu had not been challenged by anyone in his subsequent battles. Ever since Yi Xiaoning defeated Wu Wudi, other than Gu Hanmo who challenged him, the other geniuses he met also gave up. 95th round, Qin Yu vs Yi Xiaoning. Following the Azure Lightning Emperor's announcement, the Sky Chi city that was filled with over 100 million cultivators became deathly silent. Yi Xiaoning had yet to meet Wan Tianyao, and he was going to have a showdown with Qin Yu? When they saw Qin Yu and Yi Xiaoning leaping onto the stage, the originally deathly silent Sky Chi city was suddenly filled with heated discussions. The showdown between the 2 newcomers completely ignited the Sky Chi city's cultivators. Begin. When the battle started, Yi Xiaoning, as usual, directly slashed with his sword. Numerous rays of resplendent sword aura were unceasing. They turned into a sword net and enveloped Qin Yu. They were trying to strangle him to death. Qin Yu's cultivation directly rose to rank 7 martial emperor. Following that, dense divine light flickered on his body. Hundreds of divine light clones covered the entire sky. Every clone, from their appearance to their cultivation, were exactly the same. It was impossible to distinguish the real from the fake. Yi Xiaoning's gaze focused and his sword aura swept out. The sword aura that originally formed a sword net all changed direction and explosively slashed towards a certain figure. With a loud explosion, the figure was immediately pulverized. Yi Xiaoning lightly exclaimed and immediately slashed towards the left with the iron sword in his hand. The sound of swords clashing against each other rang out, accompanied by intense sparks. On Yi Xiaoning's left, a long spear made of divine light, carrying with it a destructive power, violently pierced the rusty iron sword. It was Qin Yu. That move just now was a technique of the sealing divine light, phantom displacement. Within a certain range, you can change positions with any of your avatars, but once you change positions, the other avatars will disappear. The power of this move was needless to say. Even Yi Xiaoning, the Samsara traveler, was unable to see through it even though he managed to defend himself in time. Seal. The moment the attack was blocked. Sealing divine light spread out from the sky, splitting divine spear, sealing the mysterious sword runes that appeared on the metal sword. Qi La. Yi Xiaoning's wrist shook. Streaks of pale white sword radiance shot out from the sword, and the sealing divine light was immediately pierced through by the white sword radiance. Qin Yu naturally wouldn't let Yi Xiaoning escape just like that. The sky-splitting divine spear suddenly dissipated, turning into 10 chains made of divine light and spirit runes that wrapped around the iron sword. At the same time, Qin Yu suddenly struck out with his left palm, and a dazzling beam of starlight pierced through the void. The corners of Yi Xiaoning's eyes twitched slightly, and he immediately abandoned his sword to dodge the starlight. Yi Xiaoning abandoned his sword? It seems that Shinfeng is still stronger. Indeed, a sword cultivator's strength will be greatly reduced without his sword. Countless spectators who were closely watching the battle began to discuss spiritedly when they saw this scene. Yi Xiaoning had been suppressed to the point that he had even abandoned his sword after just the beginning of the battle. The strength of the two seemed to have already been determined. But then, an unexpected scene appeared. The iron sword that was wrapped and sealed by the rune iron sword let out a crisp sword cry. The rusty spots on it automatically fell off, and wisps of destructive sword chi rose like mist. The rune iron chains that Qin Yu had condensed with the sealing divine light immediately cracked inch by inch. Qin Yu loosened his right hand, and the iron sword automatically returned to Yi Xiaoning's body. A divine artifact? Qin Yu looked down and his eyes flashed slightly. A shallow sword mark appeared in his palm. Even with his dragon god tyrant body's defense, it had actually been broken by the destructive sword chi just now. With such power, that iron sword could only be a divine artifact. To be precise, it was a sealed divine artifact. Otherwise, it would not have been able to hide from the eyes of those Emperor Realm Masters. Imperial Sword, kill. Yi Xiaoning formed a seal with both hands. The rusty iron sword fell off as if it had been reforged, and mysterious sword runes surrounded it. It immediately turned into a sword light and slashed through the air. It was the Imperial Sword technique that had severely injured Wu Wudi. Divine Firmament World Extinguishing Thunder. Qin Yu was naturally prepared, and the Thunder Dragon Seal and 9 Nether Dragon Seal both glowed. The two divine abilities of the dragon race merged into the sky-splitting divine spear. The long spear pierced through the air and collided with the iron sword that was as fast as lightning. Qin Yu's body shook violently, and cracks appeared on the sky-splitting divine spear. However, it managed to block the Imperial Sword technique. Clang! Qin Yu's right hand shook, and the iron sword that was slashing at him was immediately sent flying by the sky-splitting divine spear. At this moment, Qin Yu became one with his spear and turned into a ray of light that appeared in front of Yi Xiaoning. He was so fast that even the iron sword that was returning at top speed could not catch up. It was the Tao of extreme speed. Space? No, this is the power of space-time? A look of horror flashed in Yi Xiaoning's eyes. The power emanating from Qin Yu's long spear contained the power of spacetime, and it affected the void around him, as if he had fallen into a swamp. Ancient spacetime slaughter array. Qin Yu stared at Yi Xiaoning. An ancient spirit array appeared at the tip of the cold spear and enveloped Yi Xiaoning. This move not only contained the all-heavens slaughter array and spacetime mystic power, but also the power of 9 hells purgatory and the divine firmament world-destroying lightning. Its power was more than 100 times stronger than before. After all, not only was Qin Yu's cultivation level stronger, but his dragon soul's understanding of space-time mystic power had also deepened. If Yi Xiaoning did not show his true strength, he would definitely not be able to block this move. Even the Azure Lightning Arch, who was acting as the referee, had his lightning Dao art fluctuating slightly, as if he was ready to attack at any time. You do have some skills, but this is the end of it. Yi Xiaoning was shocked but did not panic. A pitch-black sword shadow floated in the depths of his eyes. A trace of sword intent that seemed to be able to cross the universe spread out. Sky-bearing sword intent. Qin Yu's entire body turned cold, and his hair stood on end. A sense of deadly danger appeared. However, Qin Yu was not surprised at all. Instead, he was excited. Indeed, Yi Xiaoning was Sky-bearing sword immortal reincarnation. He had finally confirmed it. This aura. Just as Yi Xiaoning was about to attack, he seemed to sense something, and his expression suddenly changed. In the next moment, his 2 fingers formed a sword and slashed through the void in front of him. Immediately, a several dozen foot wide spatial crack appeared in the void. An ancient, desolate, and ancient aura soared into the sky from the spatial crack. At this moment, Yi Xiaoning and Qin Yu were immediately swallowed by the spatial crack. However, the Azure Lightning Arch, who was beside them, was sent flying by the vast, desolate aura and was unable to approach the spatial crack. Swoosh! Almost at this moment, a figure flashed through the sky like lightning. It actually passed through the restriction above Sky Chi City and appeared on the battle arena. If Qin Yu was here, he would definitely be able to recognize that the person who had appeared was Xing Luo. Chapter 403. That is, it can't be? Mad Dragon Sovereign? Is it really the Mad Dragon Sovereign who is ranked first on the monarch ranking of the Central State? Why would such a figure come to the spiritual state battle ranking list? Hundreds of millions of martial artists had gathered in Sky Chi City. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Xing Luo, who had just appeared. Even Emperor Qing Lei, Shi Tiangang, and the other top emperors were shocked. The Mad Dragon Emperor Xing Luo was ranked first on the Central Prefecture's emperor ranking. It could even be said that the current star Luo was like the Dragon God Sovereign from 1,000 years ago. In front of Xing Luo, even the top sovereigns of the spiritual state felt pressured. Xing Luo's appearance caused everyone's attention to gather on him. No one paid any attention to the spatial crack that had swallowed Qin Yu and Yi Xiaoning, as well as the Blue Lightning Emperor. The Primordial Ages. Power of Ancient Immortals. Xing Luo didn't pay attention to his surroundings. The other martial artists were all looking at him in surprise. His eyes glittered as he looked at the pitch-black spatial rift in front of him. From the crack, Xing Luo sensed the power of an ancient immortal that only existed in the legends of the primeval age. Compared to the primordial divine power that was born in the primordial era, the primordial divine power truly existed. Since the end of the primordial era, no one had ever grasped the power of an ancient immortal. The warriors of the heaven domain were only seen occasionally in some of the ancient forbidden areas of the heaven domain. Mad Dragon Sovereign? Is it really him? The Emperor Realm Masters of Sacrificial Evil God Dynasty, who originally had ugly expressions because of the disappearance of Zheng Qingtian's evil spirit soul, were now quite excited. The God Emperor of the Sacrificial Evil God Dynasty had gone to see the Star Luo Sovereign before disappearing. They had wanted to find the Star Luo Emperor countless times and ask him what was going on. However, it was a pity that the Star Luo Emperor had always been in a semi-invisible state, and Shenren's head was nowhere to be seen. If it weren't for the fact that the Star Luo race would occasionally appear in the Forbidden Zones and Outer Realms, he would have been dead by now. They were all wondering if the Star Luo Sovereign had already left the Heaven Realm. Now that they saw the Star Luo Sovereign appear, they were naturally excited. Right, where are Shen Feng and Yi Xiaoning? It seems to have been swallowed by the spatial crack. Don't tell me they ended up in the chaotic void? No, this aura, it's an ancient ruin? Is there an ancient ruin behind this spatial rift? This is Sky Chi City's secret? After recovering from the shock of the Star Luo clan's arrival, Nie Tian slowly returned to his senses. All the warriors in the city immediately looked at the spatial rift in shock. It should be noted that the aura emitted by the spatial crack was enough to send an existence like the Blue Lightning Monarch flying. With such a terrifying power, there must be a heaven-shaking treasure hidden inside. What a powerful pressure! What kind of power is this? It's impossible to get close. The first to react were the Sky Emperor Palace and the Heavenly Spirit Dynasty. After all, the people who had disappeared were the top geniuses of their two forces. However, when they tried to approach it, they discovered that the spatial crack was emitting an extremely shocking aura. Even existences like Shi Tiangang were suppressed to the point that they were unable to approach. They looked at Xing Luo, who was standing at the edge of the crack with a calm expression, and their hearts grew more and more shocked. No wonder he was ranked first on the Emperor ranking, an existence on par with the Dragon God Emperor. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure broke through the sky and rushed onto the battle arena. He flew directly into the spatial crack. Although that person's speed was fast, all the warriors present could see him clearly. That was just a martial ancestor of the Heavenly Spirit Dynasty. That person was none other than Jian Hen. Could it be that only the younger generation can enter this ancient ruin? Seeing the martial ancestors Jian Hen easily enter the spatial crack. After a moment of astonishment, the top forces all came to their senses. They let the younger generation carefully sense it. Sure enough, they discovered that the spatial crack emitted a terrifying pressure on the Emperor realm, but it did not suppress the younger generation of warriors at all. Swish! Swish! After confirming this, many great forces immediately sent many of their younger generation into the spatial crack. With such a great opportunity in front of them, they naturally could not let it go. Even the geniuses who had been eliminated from the battle ranking, as well as the ordinary martial emperors and martial ancestors of the younger generation, flew into the spatial crack. Palace Master? Sun Xiu was about to enter the spatial crack when a trace of Dao art power entangled her. Sun Xiu turned around and looked at Shi Tiangang in confusion. There's something strange about this ancient ruin. Don't go in for the time being. Shi Tiangang slowly transmitted his voice as an ancient talisman appeared in his hand. At this moment, the ancient talisman was flickering with red light. The red light was like blood. Sun Xiu's eyes twitched as she understood. That was her father's divination ancient talisman. Since the divination ancient talisman had a bloody light, it meant that it was a bad omen. What about Shen Feng? Sun Xiu looked at the spatial crack with worry in her eyes. Shen Feng is the son of great fortune. He should be able to turn the misfortune into a blessing and come out safely. Shi Tiangang could only think so. After all, Qin Yu had already fallen into it. Therefore, he could not let Sun Xiu fall into it again. At this moment, Qin Yu, who had been swallowed by the spatial crack, appeared in a vast world. A vast and desolate aura filled the entire sky. This ancient ruin is a bit old. The dragon soul in the divine dragon ancient seal spoke. Although it did not sense the existence of the dragon tribe, the dragon soul was still full of curiosity about this ancient ruin. The power that filled this ancient ruin was beyond its understanding. This sky has the power of the ancient immortals. It should be left behind from the primordial era. However, Qin Yu was able to sense it. Qin Yu had come into close contact with the power of the ancient immortals in his previous life in the immortal treasury. However, he had only come into contact with it. That level of immortal power was not something that mortals could touch at all. However, what Qin Yu cared about was not the power of the ancient immortals between heaven and earth. It was the reaction of the celestial creation seal. After coming to this ancient ruin, the celestial creation seal's vibration had obviously become more frequent and intense. It seemed to be a little excited. Qin Yu almost suspected that the celestial creation seal had gained sentience. After pondering for a moment, Qin Yu immediately rushed in the direction of the celestial creation seal's vibration. In a void thousands of miles away from Qin Yu, Yi Xiaoning stood in the void and looked up at the sky. In his eyes there was a deep sword light flickering, as if he could see through heaven and earth. Faintly, the appearance of Xing Luo outside the space crack appeared. I didn't expect him to appear so soon. It seems that he has been in the spiritual state all these years. After a while, Yi Xiaoning withdrew his gaze. Just as Qin Yu had guessed, he was the Sky Burier Sword Immortal who had returned from reincarnation. As early as more than 10 years ago, the Sky Burier Sword Immortal had awakened his memories. At that time, Xing Luo had sensed his existence and came across the realm. However, at that time, the Sky Burier Sword Immortal was only a child with a weak cultivation base. He could only seal his memories, and even the Sky Burier Sword Dao was completely sealed. It was only now that his cultivation base had advanced to the martial emperor realm that his memories were unsealed again. Previously, when he fought Qin Yu, he had no choice but to use the Sky Burier Sword Dao. He did not expect Xing Luo to track him down in an instant. Chapter 404. Sky Burier Sword Immortal looked around and waved his right hand. A spirit compass appeared in his hand. The ancient runes on the spirit compass lit up one after another. Then, a rune light soared into the sky and shot in a certain direction. If one were to look down from the sky, the direction that the talisman light was taking Burier Heaven Sword Immortal to was precisely the direction that Qin Yu was flying toward. With Qin Yu and Sky Burier Sword Immortal's cultivation, it didn't take long for them to discover each other. At this moment, Qin Yu, who had already appeared in front of an ancient divine palace, turned his head and looked in the southeast direction. Soon, a figure shot over at an extremely fast speed. It was Sky Burier Sword Immortal. This kid, after the heaven-burying Sword Immortal summoned that talisman light into the compass and put it away, he looked at Qin Yu with a somewhat astonished expression. To be honest, there was such a talented genius in the martial emperor realm. In both his past life and present life, he had only seen Qin Yu. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't sense the reincarnation aura from Qin Yu, Sky Burier Sword Immortal would have suspected that Qin Yu was also a reincarnator like him. This isn't a place for you to come. Leave. Sky Burier Sword Immortal said indifferently. He withdrew his gaze and carefully sized up the divine palace's restriction. Qin Yu smiled and ignored Sky Burier Sword Immortal. Since he had already confirmed Sky Burier Sword Immortal's identity, there was no need for him to have any conflict with Sky Burier Sword Immortal for the time being. There were some things that he could ask slowly in the future. After all, if they really fought. Although Qin Yu wasn't afraid of Sky Burier Sword Immortal, he definitely couldn't kill him. Didn't you hear what I said? Sky Burier Sword Immortal frowned when he saw that Qin Yu hadn't left and was still carefully sensing the divine palace's restriction. Do I have to listen to you? Qin Yu said indifferently. In terms of seniority, Sky Burier Sword Immortal was considered his senior. However, there was no friendship between them. Qin Yu had only met Sky Burier Sword Immortal once, when he was a martial king. Naturally, Qin Yu didn't need to talk about respecting the old and loving the young. Moreover, in the world of martial artists the strong were revered. They were all samsara travelers now, and it was hard to tell who was stronger. Qin Yu didn't think of himself as a junior of the Sky Barrier's Sword Immortal. How dare you? Sky Barrier's Sword Immortal's gaze turned several times sharper, as sharp as a sword. In his eyes, the pitch-black sword shadow appeared once again. A sword intent that seemed capable of slaughtering all living beings in the world swept through the heavens and the earth, scattering the wind and clouds. It was the heaven-burying sword Tao that had completely unleashed its divine might. Since you want to play, I'll play with you. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. When the heaven-burying sword Immortal reached the peak of the Emperor realm, Qin Yu was considered to have officially stepped into the martial Tao. After Qin Yu reached the peak of the Emperor realm, the heaven-burying sword Immortal went to the immortal-seeking ancient road with his master. The two of them had reached the peak of the heaven domain one after the other. They had never fought against each other before. Qin Yu only wanted to confirm the heaven-burying sword Immortal's identity during the spiritual state battle ranking. But now Qin Yu's battle intent rose in his heart, and he wanted to have a serious fight. Roar! But at this moment, a deafening beast roar resounded through the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword Immortal both felt their bodies become heavy. A terrifying aura as vast as the sea appeared from the divine palace. In the next moment, Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword Immortal saw it. A 10-jong-tall golden lion with golden fur stepped out of the palace. It was brimming with vigor. Primordial sacred beast, golden holy lion. Shock flashed in Qin Yu's eyes. In this era, primordial beings were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. Of course, although this golden holy lion was a primordial being, it couldn't have lived from the primordial era until now. Otherwise, its cultivation wouldn't only be at the peak of the martial emperor realm. Moreover, no being could live from the primordial era until now. Golden holy lion. I was right. This ancient relic was left behind by the heavenly qilin saint Immortal. Seeing this, the heaven-burying sword Immortal's eyes flashed with joy. As a former peak martial emperor, he was known as the Sword Immortal. Why did he want to fight for the first place of the spiritual state battle ranking? His goal was to enter the ancient relic left behind by the heavenly qilin saint Immortal. This was a secret that the heaven-burying sword Immortal had learned after going to the immortal-seeking ancient road. The previous champions of the spiritual state battle ranking would have the opportunity to enter this ancient relic. However, the previous geniuses of the spiritual state weren't qualified, so this ancient relic had never appeared. The heaven-burying sword Immortal had wanted to take the first place of the battle ranking and enter this ancient relic openly. But he didn't expect that Qin Yu would appear out of nowhere. More importantly, Xinglua had never left the spiritual state. Therefore, the heaven-burying sword Immortal could only slice open the space with his sword and enter this ancient relic with an external force. The saint has an immortal order. Mediocre people can't enter. You came with an external force and should be killed. The golden holy lion spoke in human language and stepped into the air, directly passing through the restriction of the divine technique. As it stepped forward, golden light flashed on the golden holy lion's body, and an identical golden holy lion appeared. Boom! The 2 golden holy lions immediately turned into 2 beams of golden light and pounced toward Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword Immortal. An ancient and domineering killing intent exploded in all directions. Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword Immortal's expressions turned serious, as expected of a primordial being. Although it was only at the peak of the martial emperor realm, it made them feel threatened. However, the 2 of them weren't afraid at all and immediately went up to meet it. Slash! The heaven-burying sword Immortal yelled. The iron sword that seemed to have completed its transformation immediately emitted a dazzling sword light. In the blink of an eye, the entire sword turned pitch black, and the sword power that seemed to be able to slaughter the world became even more powerful and terrifying. Space-time annihilation array. Qin Yu's long spear condensed, and the space-time annihilation array surrounded it. The ancient dragon seal appeared and smashed out with a mighty and terrifying divine power. Rumble! Outside the ancient divine palace, an earth-shattering battle erupted. The golden holy lion was a primordial being. Although its cultivation hadn't reached the emperor realm, it could be said to be invincible among the martial emperors. If an ordinary martial emperor encountered it, he would definitely die. However, Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword immortal weren't ordinary martial emperors. In their previous lives, one of them was the dragon god emperor, who ranked first among the emperors in the sky region, and no one could shake his position. The other was a peerless sword immortal, who suppressed an era. The two of them unleashed their full battle power, and were evenly matched with the golden holy lion. It was difficult to determine the victor. Boom! The two golden holy lions opened their mouths and spat out a 5-foot-long golden light beam, which violently struck Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword immortal. Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword immortal were sent flying several thousand feet away. Swoosh! Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword immortal broke through the air and flew over in an instant. However, to their surprise, the two golden holy lions that were originally split into two had already merged into one. With your talent, you can enter the sage's immortal world. The golden holy lion's words made Qin Yu and the heaven-burying sword immortal come back to their senses. It seemed that the previous battle was just the golden holy lion testing their strength. As soon as it finished speaking, a layer of golden divine light appeared on the golden holy lion's body, and the restrictions around the divine technique disappeared. A surge of immortal might from the primordial era suddenly spread out, suppressing the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The real, primordial immortal force? Qin Yu's expression froze. Shock and disbelief filled his eyes. The immortal might emitted from the divine palace was the real primordial immortal force? Could this ancient ruin have been left behind by a real immortal? Chapter 405. That's great! Sky Burier Sword Immortal was even more excited. The information he had received was indeed true. The primordial heavenly Qilin Saint Immortal had stepped onto the true immortal path. In his previous life, he had even stepped onto the immortal-seeking ancient road to pursue the immortal path. I see. Qin Yu glanced at Sky Burier's sword immortal discreetly. He would be too stupid if he still didn't know that Sky Burier's sword immortal's goal was to obtain the immortal force from the divine palace. Only the rumored primordial immortal force could make a peerless sword immortal participate in the spiritual state tournament ranking dutifully. Immortal force. Thinking to this point, a fiery expression flashed through Qin Yu's eyes. If he let go of such a heaven-defying opportunity, he would be struck by lightning. No matter how strong Qin Yu was in his previous life, he was only at the peak of the sovereign realm. He hadn't even stepped onto the peak of the martial Tao. Not to mention a glimpse of the immortal path opportunity. Whoosh! Sky Burier's sword immortal glanced at Qin Yu, then his figure flashed and immediately rushed into the divine palace. Qin Yu's reaction wasn't slow either. He quickly turned into a beam of light, broke through the void, and flashed into the divine palace. After the two of them entered, the golden light on the golden holy lion's body dissipated, and it also entered the divine palace. The restriction outside the divine palace appeared once again. However, at this time, outside the ancient ruins, on the battle arena in the center of Sky Qilin City, Xing Luo, who had been staring at the spatial crack, had a dazzling light in his eyes. The true primordial immortal force is indeed here. Xing Luo was like a hunter who had seen his prey. His gaze was terrifyingly sharp. He took a step forward, and an earth-shaking dragon roar resounded from his body. The shadow of a 1,000-foot-long dragon appeared with an incomparably domineering dragon aura. Heaven and earth changed color. In the next moment, the shadow of the dragon shattered the spatial crack and emitted a terrifying divine aura. Xing Luo flashed and entered the spatial crack. The Mad Dragon's sovereign actually entered? What should we do? Should we join forces to break this restriction? Judging from this power, even if we were to join hands, it would be very difficult for us to break through it. In fact, we might even suffer a backlash from it. Indeed, earlier, the Mad Dragon Sovereign seemed to have used some sort of secret technique to suppress his cultivation in order to pass through the restriction. Strange, isn't there a bone age limit? Why did the Berserk Dragon Sovereign suppress his cultivation and enter? After all, he's the strongest on the Emperor leaderboard, so he naturally has many supreme secret techniques. That's not important. What's important is the purpose of the Mad Dragon Sovereign's sudden appearance. Are they here for this ancient relic, or are they here for someone? In Sky Chi City, there were 7 great forces and 10 Emperor Realm Masters from super great forces. After watching Xing Luo disappear, they gathered and discussed with each other. They planned to break the restriction of Sky Chi City and enter the spatial crack. Many of their top prodigies had entered the ancient ruins. Now, a venerable emperor had charged into a group of martial emperors. It was like a ferocious tiger pouncing into a flock of sheep. If they were really targeting someone, then they would definitely die. Moreover, the venerable emperor who had entered was the Mad Dragon Sovereign, who had the reputation of being the strongest venerable emperor. Of course, the ones who were most worried were the Heavenly Emperor Palace and the Heavenly Spirit God Dynasty. If the Mad Dragon Sovereign had really come for someone, then it was most likely Qin Yu and the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal. In the Divine Palace, Qin Yu and the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal came to an empty hall. In the main hall, there was only a stone statue that was about 10 feet tall. Its appearance could not be seen clearly as it floated in the air. Qin Yu and the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal stopped when they were 100 feet away from the stone statue. They had no choice but to stop. The stone statue emitted a vast immortal aura, which made them feel an indescribable pressure with every step they took. If they hadn't been peak venerable emperors in their previous lives, they probably wouldn't have been able to step into this hall. Saint, please show us your immortal aura. The Golden Saint Lion knelt respectfully in front of the stone statue and spoke in the human language. As the Golden Saint Lion spoke, the stone statue trembled slightly, and mysterious immortal inscriptions spread out. In the next moment, a trace of crystal-clear immortal chi, which seemed to be made of gold, appeared from the stone statue. It came to Qin Yu and the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal and slowly flowed around them, as if it was a sentient object. Qin Yu and the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal felt as if they were facing a formidable enemy, and their hair stood on end. The immortal chi emitted a pressure that made them clearly feel that it had the power to kill them. The immortal chi circled around Qin Yu and the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal, and then entered Qin Yu's body. How could the Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal's face changed slightly? He had the immortal seal of the Heavenly Qilin Saint Immortal on him. However, he didn't dare to act rashly in the face of that terrifying aura. Qin Yu was delighted when he felt the immortal chi enter his body and gradually merge with the true origin of the battle dragon. His physical body wasn't good at first, but with the creation of the immemorial battle dragon art, it was comparable to an emperor body. Heaven-Burying Sword Immortal's reincarnation body didn't have the potential of an emperor body at all. He had cultivated for more than 10 years with the help of the Heavenly Spirit God Dynasty to reach his current level. Is this the true immortal aura? Even the dragon soul that was born in the body of the immortal ancient Shinran was astounded when it sensed the power of the immortal chi. Even the purple heaven godly lightning dragon and the golden flame heaven burning dragon in the origin dragon world couldn't help but tremble. However, Qin Yu's body suddenly stiffened. The immortal chi that had merged with the true origin of the battle dragon suddenly bounced out of Qin Yu's body when Qin Yu was executing the immemorial battle dragon art. What's going on? Qin Yu was startled. The succession has failed. the golden holy lion said upon seeing this. Even though it didn't know what had happened, it was obvious that Qin Yu's succession had failed. The heaven-burying sword immortal couldn't help but smile. Now that Qin Yu had failed, it was his chance. Failed? Qin Yu seemed to be in a daze. He was indeed in a daze. The reaction of the immortal Qi to the immemorial battle dragon art seemed to be, the immortal Qi seems to be afraid of the immemorial battle dragon art? The dragon's soul said with uncertainty. Even the dragon's soul didn't believe its own words. However, Qin Yu clearly sensed it. The immortal Qi had indeed fled out of his body when the immemorial battle dragon art was activated. It was definitely a sign of fear. Would the immortal Qi of the immemorial battle dragon art be afraid of it? Qin Yu had always thought the immemorial battle dragon art was only recorded as an ancient taboo art. It was because it could refine the blood of dragons and steal their mystical abilities to grow stronger. However, it seemed like the immemorial battle dragon art was not as simple as he had imagined. Qin Yu couldn't help but recall the blood demon who had obtained the immortal blood soul art from the blood demon continent. He remembered the blood demon mentioning that the immemorial battle dragon art was the most impressive mystical art among the 4 mystical art. At that time, Qin Yu felt that the blood devil knew something. Now that he thought about it, the blood demon did not just know something. He might even know the true secret of the immemorial battle dragon art. Chapter 406. Meanwhile, the golden immortal Qi entered the body of the sky-burying sword immortal after being scared away by the ancient battle dragon art. A magnificent immortal aura burst out from the sky-burying sword immortal's body. Vaguely, the immortal Qi in the palace gathered toward the sky-burying sword immortal. The immortal aura of the sky-burying sword immortal grew stronger. Bang! Suddenly, the ancient ruins shook vigorously as the golden sacred lion raised its head. Someone's invading? The golden sacred lion turned into a ray of golden light and left the palace with a fierce look. They've chased after us. The sky-burying sword immortal's eyes turned cold as he disappeared from the palace with a flicker. This aura, the eyes of the dragon soul and the ancient seal of the mystical dragon surged with a terrifying murderous intent. Xing Luo. Qin Yu slightly narrowed his eyes. His gaze had turned grave, stern and deep. Buzz buzz buzz. As Qin Yu was about to leave the palace, the seal of fortune in his soul vibrated vigorously. Its target seemed to be the stone statue. Qin Yu raised his brows slightly as he walked toward the stone statue. As the golden immortal Qi entered the sky-burying sword immortal's body, the immortal aura of the stone statue weakened tremendously. Qin Yu walked to the back of the stone statue. He discovered that there was a palm-sized stone case behind the stone statue. Qin Yu's eyes flickered. He had no idea who the stone statue was. However, since it had cultivated the immortal force, it was definitely one of the top existences in the ancient immortal realm. The treasures it left behind were definitely ordinary. If it weren't for the sudden appearance of Xing Luo and the sky-burying sword immortal's murderous aura, it wouldn't be easy for Qin Yu to obtain the stone box. As soon as Qin Yu touched the stone box, a layer of golden immortal Qi appeared as if it was trying to stop Qin Yu. Qin Yu raised his brows slightly and pondered for a moment. The battle dragon's true force appeared as he executed the ancient battle dragon art. Immediately, the golden celestial aura on the stone box dissipated. Qin Yu immediately opened the stone box. There were 2 items inside, a dark red lotus seed and half a scroll. Hellfire Divine Lotus? When Qin Yu saw the dark red lotus seed, his eyes flashed with shock. The Karmic Fire Divine Lotus was a legendary Buddhist treasure that could be refined into karmic fire. Karmic fire could burn away one's sins. It would not be extinguished until all of one's sins had been burned away. In the world of martial artists who had not committed murder, no lives on his hands, it was easy to imagine how powerful the karmic fire was. However, it was not the Hellfire Divine Lotus that caused the celestial creation seal to react violently, but the other half of the scroll. Qin Yu took out the remnant scroll and opened it. The ancient scroll was engraved with countless mysterious Tao patterns. Among those mysterious Tao patterns, there were 4 ancient words: Great Fate Art. This is, Qin Yu was shocked. He finally knew why the Destiny Immortal seal had such a strong reaction toward the half-incomplete scroll. According to Qin Yu's art of stealing heaven's fortune, the Almighty who created the heaven-stealing good fortune art had once been fortunate enough to observe the great fate art and gain enlightenment. That was how the heaven-stealing good fortune art was born. The heaven-stealing good fortune art was known as a divine art. However, the great fate art was the most powerful immortal art among the 3,000 great Taos. This was a true immortal art. Even though it was only half of the scroll, it was enough to make Qin Yu excited. Qin Yu immediately put the Hellfire Divine Lotus into the Divine Dragon Ancient Seal with a thought. The half-incomplete scroll of the Great Fate art was also absorbed by the Destiny Immortal Seal. As the power of providence seeped in, the countless mysterious Tao patterns on the ancient scroll instantly emitted immortal light. It was as if all the mysterious Tao patterns contained supreme immortal arts. However, each of those Tao patterns was like a star in the sky. They were observable but untouchable. Qin Yu was confused and could not make sense of them. Of course, now was not the time to delve into this. Qin Yu quietly left the divine palace. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, in the void thousands of miles away from the divine palace, a great battle was taking place. The 2 sides of the battle were Sky Barrier Sword Immortal teaming up with the Golden Holy Lion to fight Mad Dragon Emperor Xing Luo. Even if Xing Luo had suppressed his cultivation, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal would not have been able to stop him with his current strength. However, with the help of the immemorial sacred beast, the Golden Holy Lion, and the power of the ancient immortal in this ancient ruin, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal was able to stop the violent Xing Luo. Is this the immemorial immortal power? After sending Sky Barrier Sword Immortal and the Golden Holy Lion flying with both hands, Xing Luo blasted the Golden Holy Lion away. Xing Luo looked at the cloud-like golden immortal chi around Sky Barrier Sword Immortal. His eyes were burning with greed. All the emperors in the heaven region were interested in true immortal power. Although there were no reliable ancient records, all the emperors in the heaven region knew about it. The path after the emperors was definitely related to immortal power. Now that there was such an opportunity, Xing Luo naturally would not let it go. Kid, do you think you can deal with me just by calculating the time of my reincarnation? You are still too young. With Sky Barrier Sword Immortal seniority, he was indeed qualified to call Xing Luo a junior. For my master's sake, I will call you senior. I will also give you one last chance. Hand over the immemorial immortal power inheritance. Xing Luo said indifferently. You are a bastard who killed your master. How dare you talk about your master? Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's voice was bone-chilling. It seems like you still don't know. Master used a secret technique to escape. Xing Luo's eyes were still indifferent. Xian Tian is still alive? Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's expression changed slightly. He should still be alive, but his condition is not good. He might be better off dead. Xing Luo said indifferently. The thing that Xian Tian regretted the most in his life was taking an ingrate like you as his disciple. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal sneered. Every man for himself. If Master had agreed to help me, things wouldn't have turned out this way. I just made the most beneficial decision, Xing Luo said. Yes? What a good decision. Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's eyes became colder and murderous. It could be said that Xing Luo was the cause of his current situation. If it weren't for some fortuitous encounters that allowed him to reincarnate, his soul would have been completely destroyed. I don't want to say the same thing. Hand over the immemorial immortal power inheritance. Xing Luo didn't care about Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's mockery. He only cared about the immemorial immortal power inheritance. If you want it, then let's see if you have the ability to take it away. The ancient sword in Sky Burial's sword immortal's hand let out a crisp sword cry. Strands of golden immortal power merged with the divine sword. The sky changed color at this moment, and the clouds surged. Roar! The golden holy lion let out a low roar, and its golden fur stood up like golden needles. Golden beast patterns covered its body, and its aura became more ferocious. Do you really think you can deal with me with just a strand of immortal power? Xing Luo's eyes flashed coldly, and a dragon's roar shook the sky. A lifelike dragon that was thousands of feet long condensed in the sky. It was the primordial mad dragon. Boundless dragon aura spread out, suppressing heaven and earth. Chapter 407. 9 Revolution Berserk Dragon. It was Qinyu, who had quietly left the divine palace and concealed his aura. Looking at the sky in the distance, the domineering primordial berserk dragon immediately dived into the ground. He even used the 9 Revolution Berserk Dragon art. It seemed that Star Luo was serious. Roar! In the next moment, an earth-shattering dragon roar resounded. The 1,000-meter-long dragon suddenly swooped down with a power that could destroy the world. Slash! Sky Burial's sword immortal roared as the pitch-black divine sword in his hand exuded a towering sword might. Within the sword might there was also a terrifying immortal might. With the amplification of the 2 sword rays that were dozens of feet long shot out like a hurricane. Roar! Golden divine light flowed within the golden beast patterns on the golden holy lion. It uttered a ferocious roar, firing a golden beam over 10 zhang wide. Rumble! Immediately, an earth-shattering battle broke out in the void. The commotion caused by the great battle caused the ancient remains to tremble intensely. In the void, huge spatial cracks spread out. Countless destructive shockwaves spread out, wreaking havoc in this world, destroying everything. Qinyu, who had entered the ground, watched the battle with rapt attention. Although the battle was intense, the 2 fighters seemed to be evenly matched. However, Qinyu could see that Star Luo was gradually gaining the upper hand. After all, Xing Luo was a peak Emperor Realm Master. Even though Sky Burial's sword immortal had obtained the primordial immortal force inheritance, his cultivation base was still too weak to deal with Star Luo. If it weren't for the celestial Qilin holy immortal suppressing Star Luo in the ruins, he wouldn't have been able to escape. The Sky Burial's sword immortal and the golden holy lion had probably died long ago. Dragon Scale. After battling for close to an hour, the Star Luo race had gained the upper hand, and dragon patterns began to appear all over his body. In the next moment, faint crimson dragon scales appeared among the dragon patterns and covered Xing Luo's entire body. Even Xing Luo's eyes were slowly turning into dragon eyes. Although it was only the appearance of dragon scales, it had yet to truly transform into a dragon. However, Star Luo's aura had already soared by dozens of times. He clapped his hands in the air, and 2 faint crimson dragon claws tore through the air, creating deep ripples in the void. Pucci! The Sky Burial's sword deity and the golden holy lion were immediately sent flying by the dragon claw. They spat out blood and their auras became chaotic. Star Luo didn't give them a chance to react. He chased after them with his tyrannical destructive might. Sky Burial's sword immortal and golden holy lion were suppressed to the point that they couldn't even lift their head. Immortal restriction. The golden holy lion, bathed in golden divine blood, seemed to be executing some kind of secret technique. The golden holy lion continued to crack. Suddenly, a dazzling golden divine light burst forth from its body, like a scorching sun rising into the sky. Ancient, immortal restriction? The eyes of Star Luo, who was madly attacking, suddenly twitched. He could clearly sense wisps of mysterious ancient immortal force in the rift. They were like numerous chains that coiled around his limbs and bones, faintly restraining him. Even with the appearance of the star cataclysm dragon scales, it was still difficult to break free. Sword manipulation. Heaven burying 3 swords. Sky Burier Sword Immortal seized the opportunity and used his Sky Burier Sword Dao. Behind Sky Burier Sword Immortal, 3 ancient, pitch-black swords that were several thousand feet long formed. The instant the ancient, pitch-black swords formed, they immediately turned into 3 streaks of sword light that tore through the void and slashed at the dragon like lightning. It was so fast that it could be said to be teleportation. It was so fast that it could ignore space and be faster than time. The sword manipulation art was called a divine art because of its extreme speed. Clang, clang, clang. A burst of blinding light appeared. Sky Burier Sword Immortal's heaven-burying 3 swords didn't cause any damage to Star Luo. The 1,000-meter-long dragon coiled around Xing Luo's body, forming a natural shield. After the 3 ancient, pitch-black swords pierced through the 1,000-foot-long dragon, they were blocked by the dragon scales that covered Star Luo's body. Qin Yu knew that it was Star Luo's mad dragon body. Its defensive power was comparable to Qin Yu's dragon god tyrannical body at its peak. Of course, in terms of potential, the dragon god tyrannical body of the 9 esotericas of the battle dragon 9 esotericas was undoubtedly far superior to the mad dragon body. After all, the dragon god tyrannical body's defensive power could continuously increase as Qin Yu's cultivation increased. Qin Yu didn't even see the limits of the 9 esotericas of the ancient era. While defending, Star Luo also used all sorts of mystic arts and abilities. Although he was currently trapped by the ancient immortal power, Star Luo could still sense it. The longer this dragged on, the weaker the immortal aura of the ancient ruin became. The suppression on him also became weaker. The Golden Holy Lion's actions were no different from drinking poison to quench one's thirst. Once the suppression of the immortal aura completely disappeared, his cultivation would no longer be suppressed. Sky Burier Sword Immortal and the Golden Holy Lion would definitely die. Heart Extinguishing Sword. Sky Burier Sword Immortal's eyes flashed coldly when he saw this. He suddenly formed a series of sword seals with both hands. A transparent sword mark of light appeared between his eyebrows, and mysterious sword runes spread out. Then, a 5-foot-long sword of light quietly formed above Sky Burier Sword Immortal's head. The sword of light seemed to be made of light. It was hard to tell if it was real or fake. At this moment, bloody wounds appeared on Sky Burier Sword Immortal's body. It seemed that his body couldn't withstand the power of the sword mark of light. What terrifying power! They could feel the terrifying sword aura from Sky Burier Sword Immortal's body. Even Qin Yu, who was extremely far away, felt all the hair on his body stand up. His heart shivered. If Sky Burier Sword Immortal had used this move before, then even Star Luo couldn't help but look a lot more serious. He immediately formed a hand seal with both hands, and a vast amount of dragon chi entered the 1,000-foot-long dragon. It made the 1,000-foot-long dragon almost tangible, and its mighty dragon aura became even stronger. Whoosh! In the next instant, Sky Burier Sword Immortal's hand seal changed. The transparent sword of light immediately turned into a ray of light and flashed in the air. Poof! Star Luo's eyes widened. Before he could react, his body suddenly stiffened. The sword of light actually ignored his defense and directly pierced his heart. This mystic art! Star Luo's eyes widened. Star Luo raised his eyelids and looked at Sky Burier Sword Immortal with a sinister, snake-like gaze. Violent killing intent and fury surged in his eyes. How? Sky Burier Sword Immortal, who had used the heart-extinguishing sword, suddenly froze. Star Luo, whose heart had been pierced by the sword of light, wasn't weakened at all. It was as if the sword just now hadn't hurt him at all. I see. So that's how it is. You. When the sword of light that pierced Star Luo's heart returned to Sky Burier Sword Immortal's forehead, Sky Barrier Sword Immortal's expression changed, and he immediately came back to his senses. Die. Star Luo's eyes became even more sinister. He roared, and the ancient immortal power that wrapped around his body immediately shattered. The dragon scales on Star Luo's right fist glowed. He punched out, and a 1,000-foot-long dragon fist exploded. Whoosh! Sky Barrier Sword Immortal didn't know what he had discovered. He slashed with the pitch-black ancient sword in his hand, and a spatial rift immediately appeared around him. In the blink of an eye, he and the golden holy lion entered the spatial crack. You want to run? Xing Luo, who had completely broken free of his ancient immortal power, charged into the spatial rift with the giant dragon 10,000 feet around him. Chapter 408 Roar. Qin Yu, who had originally thought that the battle was over and was about to come out from the ground, faintly heard a resounding dragon cry. Oh no! Qin Yu's expression changed. He immediately used the azure dragon battle the heavens with all his strength. Lightning and speed erupted as he fled. Rumble! Almost at this moment, a tsunami-like dragon aura erupted from the spatial rift. With the spatial rift as the center, the void within hundreds of thousands of miles was annihilated and the earth shattered. It turned into a completely destroyed area. The countless geniuses who had entered the ancient ruins to search for treasures had yet to realize what was going on. Their souls were completely destroyed, and not even a trace of them was left. This continued until the destructive might of the dragon might gradually dissipated. Somewhere in the destroyed area, a figure surrounded by the power of the sky stepped out from a ball of chaotic dragon aura. It was Qin Yu. Although Qin Yu had detected it in time, his current cultivation base was too weak. However, with his current cultivation base, there was no way for him to evade, so he could only hide in the origin dragon world of the Dragon Soul. The origin dragon world of the Dragon Soul was filled with space-time abilities. It reversed time and space to avoid the destructive dragon aura. Whoosh! Without any hesitation, Qin Yu immediately ran away with a flash. Judging from the vast dragon aura just now, Xing Luo must have transformed into an ancient dragon after recovering his large cultivation base. Otherwise, the remnant energy from the spatial rift would not have such destructive power. One had to know that behind the spatial rift was not an empty space or an ancient ruin. It was a vast and boundless chaotic void. However, Qin Yu could not figure out why Xing Luo would be enemies with Buried Sky Sword Immortal. Buried Sky Sword Immortal had used the Buried Sky Sword Immortal's 3 swords. It was impossible for Xing Luo not to recognize it. Even so, Xing Luo still tried to kill Buried Sky Sword Immortal. It was obvious that they had a grudge. However, Xing Luo was someone from the same era as him. When Xing Luo became famous, Buried Sky Sword Immortal had already gone to the immortal-seeking ancient road. Xing Luo should not have a grudge with Buried Sky Sword Immortal, although Qin Yu was unable to understand the reason behind it. However, there was one point. Buried Sky Sword Immortal and Xing Luo going against each other was a good thing for Qin Yu. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. In the future, when dealing with the Star Luo and the 12 ancient emperors, he might be able to rope in the Burying Heaven Sword Immortal. Of course, the precondition was that Heaven's Barrier Sword Immortal could escape from Star Luo. After flying away from the destroyed void, Qin Yu was about to leave the ancient ruins. Within the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon's soul let out a soft cry of surprise and directly appeared. There are fluctuations of chaos chi. After the dragon's soul sensed carefully, it looked in a certain direction and a glint flashed in its eyes. What he cultivated was the chaotic dragon chi. He was extremely sensitive to the chaotic chi. Let's go and take a look. Hearing this, Qin Yu immediately changed his direction and flew away with the dragon's soul. 2 hours later, Qin Yu and the dragon's soul appeared in front of an ancient stone pillar. There were a total of several hundred stone pillars. Looking from the sky, they vaguely formed a mysterious array. Spirit vein? No, this is an acquired immortal meridian? Qin Yu's eyes suddenly lit up. Although this spirit vein was only a top spirit vein, it was sealed by this array. However, he had been sealed here by the stone pillar formation and nurtured by the immortal qi for countless years. The spirit qi had completely changed and had immortal qi. Needless to say, Qin Yu could also guess. This acquired immortal meridian must have been set up by the ancient immortals of this ancient ruin. Immortal qi only appeared in the early stage of the primordial era. Later on, immortal qi disappeared and was replaced by spirit qi. Therefore, if the ancient immortals of the primordial era wanted to continue their cultivation, they had to cultivate immortal qi. This was the same as the ancient gods, who used the power of faith to condense divine power. In this way, it was convenient for Qin Yu and the dragon soul, because in the acquired immortal meridian, there was also innate chaos qi. This was a great tonic for the dragon soul. Qin Yu circled around the ancient stone pillar array. After circling around, the spirit array disk appeared in his hand. Mysterious array patterns spread out and seeped into the stone pillar array. However, the speed at which the array patterns seeped in was quite slow. After all, this was an array left behind by an ancient immortal of the primordial era. Even with Qin Yu's attainments, he had to be careful. Otherwise, this acquired immortal meridian would very likely explode. At that time, Qin Yu would be in big trouble. Just in case, the dragon soul was 100 feet away from Qin Yu and spread its space-time divine ability. It did not hinder Qin Yu and faintly enveloped the entire stone pillar array. Crack! After a full hour, Qin Yu heaved a sigh of relief. A slight crack appeared on one of the stone pillars. After the crack appeared, it immediately spread out and covered the entire stone pillar. As if a chain reaction had occurred, all the stone pillars that suppressed the acquired immortal meridian began to crack. In the next moment, with a slight explosion, all the stone pillars immediately disappeared without a trace. Boom! Almost at the same time that the stone pillars exploded, the ground exploded. A pure spirit qi that was a few hundred feet tall immediately soared into the sky with a terrifying might, as if it was about to fly away. It actually gained sentience? Seal. Qin Yu was shocked and immediately reacted. His left hand filled the sky with array patterns to seal the world, while his right hand covered the sky with a seal to suppress the pure spirit qi that soared into the sky. With a loud bang, the divine light array patterns trembled violently, and Qin Yu's face turned slightly pale. The acquired immortal meridian contained too much power. Even with the enhancement of the divine light, it was difficult to suppress it. Seal. Qin Yu immediately used the green dragon battle the heavens to increase the power of the array patterns and the divine light. At the same time, the dragon soul's spacetime divine ability appeared and merged with Qin Yu's divine light array patterns. Immediately, the world was affected by the power of space and immediately became distorted and turbulent, firmly suppressing the acquired immortal meridian. Hurry up and refine it, Qin Yu said to the dragon soul and stepped into the acquired immortal meridian. The pores all over his body were like black holes, crazily devouring all the spirit qi. Qin Yu was originally worried that the acquired immortal meridian would counterattack, so he kept his guard up while refining the spirit qi. But soon, Qin Yu noticed that when he was using the primordial battle dragon art, the acquired immortal meridian, which had gained sentience, was like a frightened rabbit, constantly struggling to stay away from Qin Yu. It did not dare to counterattack like before. After noticing this, Qin Yu immediately used all his strength to refine the spirit qi. A spirit qi vortex vaguely appeared around him, and his cultivation level rose rapidly. The dragon soul was not slow either. Chaotic dragon qi appeared on its body, and its hands moved, forming an ancient and mysterious dragon seal. Immediately, strands of chaotic chi were extracted from the acquired immortal meridian and merged into the dragon soul's body. The purple lightning divine firmament dragon and the golden flame heavenly dragon, who were cultivating in the chaotic dragon realm, immediately discovered the chaotic dragon realm. It became more and more condensed, and it vaguely began to transform. Unknowingly, a month's time had passed. Ever since Xing Luo's destructive attack had affected countless prodigies, the remaining survivors had been scared witless. The rest of the remaining Sky Prides didn't dare to stay any longer. They had already left the ancient ruins. Chapter 409. As the surviving geniuses left, the news of what had happened in the ancient ruins spread like wildfire. Knowing that countless geniuses had died, the major forces of the spiritual state were heartbroken. However, they didn't know the details of what had happened. The battle between Yi Xiaoning and Xing Luo was witnessed by the surviving geniuses. After hearing the news, the hearts of everyone in the Heavenly Spirit dynasty sank. Xing Luo had come for Yi Xiaoning? How could Yi Xiaoning survive after being targeted by the strongest Emperor Realm Master? The people of the Heavenly Emperor Palace were also anxious. There was still no news of Qin Yu. The spatial crack had completely blocked their senses. The uneasiness in their hearts was getting stronger. If it weren't for the ancient immortal force surrounding the spatial crack, they would have broken in long ago. More than a month later, Qin Yu, who was crazily absorbing heaven and earth spirit chi, emitted a terrifying emperor aura. The celestial spiritual energy that had gathered in the surroundings exploded under the pressure. Third-grade martial emperor realm. After crazily absorbing immortal spirit chi for more than 2 months, Qin Yu's cultivation had finally broken through. The dragon soul next to him was still concentrating on extracting the natural chaotic chi. Even so, the immortal spirit chi contained in the acquired immortal vein was still boundless. Qin Yu and the dragon soul had only absorbed 1/3 of it in 2 months. Whoosh! At this moment, Qin Yu and the dragon soul's expressions changed slightly. They opened their eyes and looked in the direction of the divine palace. Then, a beam of immortal light shot up into the sky and disappeared from the destroyed area. Qin Yu and the dragon soul saw clearly that the immortal light was the stone statue. "It seems that we have to leave this place." The dragon soul looked at Qin Yu. Since the stone statue had flown away, Heaven Burier Sword Deity should have escaped the disaster. If he found that the treasure in the stone box had disappeared, he might come back to the ancient ruins. Indeed, it's better to leave. Although his cultivation had broken through and his strength had skyrocketed, he had seen the battle between Heaven Burier Sword Deity and Xing Luo. Qin Yu didn't have absolute confidence that he could deal with Heaven Burier Sword Deity. It was safer to return to the Heavenly Emperor Palace. Immediately, Qin Yu stood up and quickly formed a seal with his hands. The divine light that sealed this world immediately shrank to 1,000 feet and completely sealed the celestial vein. With a thought, Qin Yu stored the sealed acquired immortal vein into the ancient seal of the dragon god and immediately flew away. Because of the appearance of the Star Luo Empire and the ancient ruins, more and more experts gathered in Sky Chi City. Even the forces from the other 8 prefectures had crossed over. It's been more than 2 months. Among the people from the Sky Emperor Palace, Shi Tiangang, Sun Xiu and the others could not hide the worry on their faces. Qin Yu had not come out for such a long time. He was afraid that the odds were against him. But suddenly, Shi Tiangang's expression changed. He immediately focused his gaze on the spatial crack. Could it be? Seeing the uncontrollable joy on Shi Tiangang's face, the faces of Sun Xiu and the others lit up. Whoosh! In the next moment, a figure flashed out from the spatial crack. He's finally out? Seeing that Qin Yu had returned safely, the people from the Sky Emperor Palace heaved a sigh of relief. Rank 3 Martial Emperor? We don't know whether Yi Xiaoning is dead or alive, but Shen Feng actually obtained an opportunity. This kid's luck is extraordinary. Qin Yu's return alive was a joyous occasion for the Sky Emperor Palace. But for the other forces in the spiritual state that had lost countless geniuses, it was not a joyous occasion. When they saw that Qin Yu had not come out for such a long time, they thought that something had happened to him like Yi Xiaoning. He's the new genius from the Sky Emperor Palace. Can he really suppress Wu Wudi of the 10,000 martial sect with such cultivation? Countless forces in the spiritual state saw it with their own eyes. How could it be fake? The spiritual state has a peerless genius this time. With such talent, he might be comparable to the 5 Taoists of the middle state. It's hard to say in the future, but at the very least, none of the geniuses of the 9 states this time can be a match for the 5 Taoists. In addition to the major forces in the spiritual state, spies from the other 8 states were also curiously sizing up Qin Yu and discussing him. Let's go back to the palace. Relieved, Shi Tiangang did not hesitate and immediately led Qin Yu, Sun Xiu, and the others back. Palace Master, what's the ranking of the spiritual state battle ranking this time? On the way back, Qin Yu curiously asked about the spiritual state battle ranking. After such a big incident, the battle ranking would definitely not be carried out this time. However, the top 12 of the battle ranking were related to the number of participants in the 9 states battle ranking, so there had to be a result. The specific ranking of the battle ranking probably needs to be discussed in detail. But don't worry. Whether Yi Xiaoning comes back or not, you'll be first. Shi Tiangang said with a big smile. After all, Qin Yu had defeated Wan Tianyao, the strongest of the older generation of geniuses, and he was definitely first. This time, the Sky Emperor Palace only had 2 people on the spiritual state battle ranking. One was first on the battle ranking, and the other was in the top 20. This time, the Sky Emperor Palace would surpass the 10,000 martial sect. 3 days later, in the Sky Emperor Palace, Qin Yu, who was absorbing the chaotic immortal qi in the ancient dragon seal, slightly changed his expression and came out of the ancient seal space. After dispelling the restriction outside the palace, a voice transmission talisman appeared in front of Qin Yu. Come to the Holy Palace. Shi Tiangong's voice came from the voice transmission talisman. Has the ranking of the battle ranking been decided? Qin Yu murmured, left the palace, and came to the Holy Palace of the Sky Emperor Palace. But the moment he stepped into the Holy Palace, Qin Yu's body stiffened, and his eyes became confused and lifeless. Qin Yu, come here. At this moment, Shi Tiangong's calm voice sounded, and Qin Yu walked over. In the Holy Palace, in addition to Shi Tiangang, Sun Jiuxiao, and other sovereigns who were descendants of the 3 sovereigns, there were also 7 sovereigns and elders who were descendants of battle generals. Qin Yu, where did you get the secret technique you used on the spiritual state battle ranking? Shi Tiangang asked. I got it from the 3 sovereigns' Tao space. Qin Yu replied in a dull voice. What kind of secret technique is that? What are the conditions for cultivating it? Shi Tiangang and the other sovereigns, as well as the descendants of the battle generals, were all surprised. The 3 sovereigns' 9 spirits technique can only be passed down in the Tao law space if one learns the divine abilities of the 3 sovereigns at the same time. It is not easy to pass it down, and it will consume a lot of vitality to use it. In serious cases, it will even damage one's foundation. Qin Yu replied in a dull voice. The divine abilities of the 3 sovereigns? Hearing Qin Yu's words, the descendants of the battle generals were disappointed. It seemed that they could not cultivate this secret technique. Damage one's foundation? Shi Tiangang and the other descendants of the 3 sovereigns frowned. They looked at each other. It seemed that they would have to restrict Qin Yu from using it in the future. After asking about the amplification secret technique and the Dragon Clan's secret technique, Shi Tiangang looked at the descendants of the battle generals. Those sovereigns stood up and disappeared in an instant, leaving only Shi Tiangang there. Shi Tiangang moved his finger slightly, and Qin Yu immediately woke up. This is the ranking of the battle ranking this time, as well as the geniuses of the 9 states who participated in the heaven ranking, Shi Tiangang handed over the 2 pieces of information to Qin Yu. "Many thanks, Palace Master." Qin Yu took the information, and Shi Tiangang did not say anything more, letting Qin Yu leave. "It's actually the mind-bewitching technique. Fortunately, my Emperor's soul has already recovered, or else I might have fallen for it." After leaving the palace, a smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. Chapter 410. The mind-bewitching technique was a powerful illusion technique that could control one's mind unknowingly. With Shi Tiangang and the others at the Emperor realm, its power was naturally even more terrifying. Unfortunately, not only was Qin Yu an Emperor reincarnation, but he had also recovered his Emperor soul. As long as it was not a direct soul search, outsiders could not control him with illusion technique. Just now, Qin Yu was just acting. "Could it be that Sky Emperor Palace is suspecting your identity?" the dragon soul asked. It was the first time that Sky Emperor Palace had directly tested Qin Yu. "It shouldn't be." Qin Yu shook his head slightly. From Shi Tiangang's question, it was most likely that he was just curious about the origin of his secret technique. Perhaps the 12 generals were adding fuel to the fire in this matter. In fact, it was Qin Yu who did it. Although Qin Yu had shown great power and won honor for Sky Emperor Palace in the spiritual state battle ranking this time. However, Qin Yu's performance was too shocking, which naturally made Shi Tiangang and the others curious. In addition, the descendants of the generals were greedy for Qin Yu's secret technique. That was why the mind-bewitching technique happened this time. After returning to the palace, Qin Yu casually looked at the 2 reports. The appearance of the ancient ruins in Sky Chi City this time caused more than half of the top 100 prodigies of the spiritual state to die. Among the top 20, Zhou Jianian, Kong Bitao, Jin Wushuang, Qi Huanmei, and others were also killed in the ancient ruins. As for the top 30, 17 of them died. For the top 100 of the spiritual state battle ranking this time, the top forces of the spiritual state had to reselect people with good battle records from the eliminated prodigies to make up the numbers. All the major forces were more or less perfunctory about the battle ranking. Their focus was still on the ancient ruins in Sky Chi City. According to the observation of the past few days, the restriction emitted by the ancient ruins seemed to be gradually weakening. This made the forces that had sensed it a little restless and sent many powerhouses to Sky Chi City. After looking at the battle ranking, Qin Yu sized up the prodigies of the 9 states who participated in the heaven ranking. After looking for a while, Qin Yu raised his eyebrows in surprise. Judging from the invitations, the 20 geniuses from the Central Plains had the strength to crush the geniuses from the other 9 states. However, to Qin Yu's surprise, there were 5 Taoists in this generation of Zhongzhou. Only Sky Prides who were born in supreme Taoism orthodoxies could become Taoists. Their status was similar to that of saints and princes of dynasties. However, the combat strength of these 5 Taoists was comparable to the peak of the martial emperor realm. Their talent was so strong that it was shocking. Qin Yu pondered for a moment before entering the ancient seal of the divine dragon, borrowing the dragon soul's space-time divine ability to cultivate. The 9 states heaven leaderboard would be released in 3 months. This period of time was enough for him to increase his strength by a lot. More than half of the power of fortune in the Fortune Immortal Seal had been consumed after he obtained the remaining half of the Great Destiny Art. Even his Providence star seemed to be having trouble maintaining itself. Therefore, Qin Yu had to think of a way to seize the power of Zhongzhou's Meridian of Providence during the Heaven List battle. Before that, he naturally had to win in the Heaven Leaderboard. Within the ancient seal of space-time, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul cultivated for 6 months before finally completely refining the Primal Chaos Immortal Vein. Qin Yu's cultivation had reached the peak of rank 3 Martial Emperor Realm. There were 9 ranks of Martial Emperor Realm. Every rank required a vast amount of spiritual energy to break through. Even 2/3 of the spiritual energy in the postnatal immortal vein was not enough for Qin Yu to break through to rank 4 martial emperor. After refining the primal chaos immortal vein, it would be difficult for Qin Yu's cultivation to have a large breakthrough in a short period of time. Therefore, he had to put effort into other methods. Currently, Qin Yu could still increase his strength in 2 aspects. One was spirit artifacts, and the other was spirit array disc. Although the 9 Nether Dragon Spear was already a divine rank spirit artifact, it was still being refined. It was not suitable for him to use it. Therefore, the only aspect that Qin Yu could increase his strength in was the spirit array disc. Speaking of which, it was indeed time for the spirit array discs to be upgraded. Qin Yu's current cultivation had already reached the martial emperor realm. The spirit array discs had to at least reach the divine rank. Only then could the spirit arrays contained within them be considered as killing move. Thinking of this, Qin Yu immediately began to act. With his attainments in crafting, it could be said that it was extremely easy for him to refine divine artifact. Very smoothly, he upgraded the spirit array disc. After that, Qin Yu began to set up various killing formations. The 4 great dragon clans' divine abilities, the Dragon Soul's space-time divine ability, the Heaven Punishing Formation, the God Punishing Formation, and so on were all integrated into the killing formations. When Qin Yu was inscribing the formation runes, the Golden Flame Heaven Incinerating Dragon took away the Hellfire Divine Lotus. In the end, it brought a pleasant surprise. The Golden Flame Heaven Incinerating Dragon's cultivation had increased explosively. It had reached rank 4 Martial Emperor. The Golden Flame Heaven Incinerating Flame had also undergone a metamorphosis. The flame seed had actually given birth to Hellfire. When the 2 spiritual flames were overlaid, the power of the increase could be said to be 10 times stronger. As the 9 prefectures' heavenly ranking approached, the geniuses of the 9 prefectures were all making preparations to challenge the heavenly ranking. In the dark, there were also some powers that were itching to make a move because the 9 prefectures' heavenly ranking was about to arrive 3 months' time passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Qin Yu was meditating in the cultivation room when Shi Tiangong's sound transmission talisman appeared again. Qin Yu went to the sacred palace. Sun Xiu was already there. In addition to Sun Xiu, Shi Jingtian and the other younger generation were also there. They would also follow to watch the 9 prefectures' heavenly ranking. This time, in addition to Shi Tiangang, the heavenly imperial palace had also sent 5 powerful sovereigns to accompany them. The foundation of the spiritual state's top forces was undoubtedly displayed. After leaving the northern region by teleportation, the heavenly imperial palace and the others came to the spiritual state's state crossing platform. There, many of the top 20 geniuses participating in the 9 prefectures' heavenly ranking had already gathered. The state crossing platform was one of the few places in the spiritual state that could directly teleport between the 9 prefectures. The 9 prefectures of the Qian domain were incomparably vast. If one wanted to go back and forth between the 9 prefectures, they would have to use the state crossing teleportation formation. As for the state crossing teleportation formation, the probability of being able to set it up was extremely low, even for a sovereign-grade array rune master. The state crossing teleportation formations of the Qian domain were basically left behind from the ancient era. Buzz buzz buzz. When all the forces had gathered, Shi Tiangang and the other top sovereigns opened the state crossing teleportation formation. In an instant, thousands of people in the spiritual state disappeared through the teleportation formation. Qian Domain, Middle Prefecture, Sagely Sky Peak. The Sagely Sky Peak was 99,000 feet high, reaching straight into the clouds. The flowers, plants, and trees on the peak were overflowing with spiritual qi. They were green all year round and never withered. It was rumored that in the ancient era, a deity had once attained Tao at the Sagely Sky Peak and ascended in broad daylight. In the ancient era, there were also emperors and saint-kings who had comprehended here and attained enlightenment in a day. There were countless rumors about the sagely sky peak. Every rumor was bound to be accompanied by a top powerhouse in history. After countless rumors spread, even though this mountain looked ordinary, there was nothing special about it. In the hearts of the martial artists of Middle Prefecture, it naturally became a sacred place. Therefore, the 9 prefectures' heavenly ranking and Qian domain's sovereign ranking were held at the sagely sky peak. Today, it was the 9 prefectures' heavenly ranking that was held every 3 years. The top geniuses of the 9 prefectures in the Qian domain gathered at the sagely sky peak one after another. The top forces of the 9 prefectures, ancient demon clans, mysterious alien clans, and so on all showed up. At the top of the sagely sky peak, there was an ancient city that was thousands of miles wide. Countless martial artists had already gathered in the city. Although this ancient city was usually regarded as a sacred place, it was quite deserted. However, it couldn't help but become lively. Chapter 4:11. At the top of the Saint Mountain, the ancient city was bustling with masters and geniuses. The forces of the spiritual state have arrived first. Heavenly Imperial Palace, Sacrificial Evil God Dynasty, Heavenly Sun Holy Land, innumerable martial faction. Sure enough, the spiritual state sent the geniuses of these old forces. However, it's said that something happened in Sky Qilan City, and more than half of the top 20 geniuses of the spiritual state died. It seems that the spiritual state will be at the bottom of this year's 9 states heaven ranking. Seeing the top forces of the spiritual state coming up the mountain, the warriors in the ancient city chatted among themselves. Is this the Saint Mountain of the Middle Continent, the Saint Mountain? It's said that countless masters came here to comprehend Tao, but this city looks ordinary. It's not easy to comprehend the mysteries of the place where the ancient sages comprehended Tao. It would be great if I could get the opportunity to comprehend the ancient sages' fortuitous encounters. Except for Wan Tianya and Wu Wudi, the younger generation of the spiritual state had never been to the Saint Mountain. Now that they had come to the Saint Mountain of the Middle Continent, they all looked around curiously. If it weren't for the control of their respective emperor masters, they would have scattered long ago. Qin Yu also looked at the divine heavens city. His gaze was slightly emotional. After thousands of years, this ancient city still looked the same as before. The big demon clans of the West Continent and the North Continent are here too. 9-headed Qilan, 6-winged thunder python, mystic immortal sage tiger, golden-winged rock demon. Thousands of demons are coming. This time, many new geniuses of the demon clan have risen, and they all have the power to fight enemies above their level. After the warriors of the spiritual state entered the Saint Mountain, the masters of the demon clan from the West Continent and the North Continent flew over with surging demonic presence. These demons were all from the big clans of the West Continent and the North Continent. Each of their ancestors had a great background that could be traced back to the prehistoric times or even the primeval times. The 9-headed Qilan demon clan and the golden-winged rock demon clan had the bloodline of prehistoric creatures flowing in their bodies. The human orthodoxies of the East Continent and the South Continent are here. This time, many geniuses from the East Continent and the South Continent. I wonder how many of them will be able to enter the 9 states heaven ranking this year. There are a total of 180 top geniuses in the 9 prefectures of the celestial region. However, there are only 36 people on the heaven board. It will be difficult to get on the heaven board. As time passed, the 9 prefectures of the heaven domain gathered. Sun Xiu, Xianyuan Wentian, and the rest of the younger generation were all sizing up the prodigies of the 9 prefectures. They were only here to broaden their horizons and spar with the other prodigies of the 9 states. As for the top 36 on the heaven leaderboard, they were in their group. Other than Qin Yu, Wan Tianyao, and Wu Wudi, there was a possibility that they would be ranked on the heaven list. As for the others, they would probably only be able to visit this place. From this year's information, even Wan Tianyao, who had been on the heaven roll in the previous tournament, would have a hard time. Sun Xiu, Xianyuan Wentian, and the others would naturally not suffer any setback. After all, the world would be theirs in the future. However, coming here this time broadened their horizons considerably. The exotic beasts and alien races of the barren state and the demon state were extremely rare even in the spiritual state. Not to mention the legendary descendants of the gods in the most mysterious divine prefecture. The descendants of the gods had always been walking on the path of cultivation of their ancestors, which was mysterious and unpredictable. In the past, there was a rumor that an ancient sect of the Middle State went to suppress the descendants of the gods in an attempt to obtain the divine power of the ancient gods. However, in the end, the descendants of the gods took out a decree of the gods and buried the entire sect in the divine prefecture. After that battle, no other major forces dared to target the descendants of the gods. Suddenly, a white jade pagoda flew over from the sky, and a vast divine aura descended. Everyone looked over and saw a group of tall and straight youths with extraordinary auras walking out of the white jade pagoda. The Middle State is finally here. Point Star Taoist Sect, Blue Wu Xing Land, Gale God Court, Seven Thunder Ancient Sect, Phoenix Lotus Sect. The 5 Taoists are here. It seems that the prodigies of the Middle State are going to take the top spot in this year's Heaven Leaderboard. Haha, this is normal. The Middle State is a land of talents and is where the fortune of the 9 states lies. Naturally, the prodigies of the Middle State are far superior to the other 8 states. Seeing the prodigies of the Middle State, especially the 5 famous Taoists, who had recently risen to fame, the martial artists in the Divine Sky City were in heated discussions. The top prodigies of the other 8 states felt a lot of pressure. The Heaven Leaderboard battle of the 9 states concerned the power of the godly lay of fortune. The top prodigies of the 9 states naturally wanted to compete for the godly lay of fortune. The prodigies who had reached the age limit and could no longer participate in the Heaven Leaderboard were especially anxious. Emperor God Xianyu, 7-star Ancient Emperor, 4 symbols Tao Emperor, North Emperor Luan, standing among the prodigies of the spiritual state. Qin Yu quietly sized up the prodigies and major forces of the Middle State who had arrived. Although his eyes were calm, his heart was filled with a murderous intent. This was because he saw the 4 ancient emperors who had besieged him in his previous life. Emperor God Xian Yu was middle-aged and wore a black robe. He had a smile on his face and looked amiable. He was the God Lord of Xian Yu God Court, one of the ancient dynasties of the Middle State. 7-star Ancient Emperor had thick eyebrows and big eyes. He wore a starry robe. Specks of astral energy swirled around Shao Qin, faintly appearing in the starry heavens. He was the sacred master of Star Point Sect. 4 symbols Tao Emperor had white hair and a beard. He had wrinkles all over his body and wore a simple robe. He looked inconspicuous. However, 4 symbols Tao Emperor was one of the oldest ancient emperors in the Sky Domain. North Emperor Luan was the sect master of North Sect of the Middle State. He was ranked 5th on the Sky Domain Emperor list. His combat strength was extraordinary and he was the sect master of Wu Xing Land. These 4 ancient emperors had teamed up with Xing Luo to deal with Qin Yu in the Immortal God Graveyard. Of course, apart from these 4 major forces, the forces of the ancient emperors who had attacked Qin Yu in his previous life had basically all arrived. For example, Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian's Ghost Emperor Sacred Island, Supreme Emperor Qi Yu's Crimson Spirit Dojo, Emperor God Tian Yuan's Tianyuan God Court, etc. It could be said that the forces of the 12 ancient emperors who had attacked Qin Yu in his previous life had all gathered here. However, apart from the 4 ancient emperors, the ancient emperors of the other forces did not come. After taking a few glances, Qin Yu quietly suppressed the killing intent in his heart. Although there were many enemies on the heavenly peak, there were all kinds of people. However, if he stared at a few Emperor Realm Masters with killing intent, he would be easily discovered. Thousands of years had passed. The 12 ancient emperors probably would not even dream of it. Not only had Qin Yu returned, but he had also appeared in front of them. Although this time they could not kill their enemies with their own hand. However, the next time Qin Yu came to the central state, it would be the day when the 12 ancient emperors would die. One day later, the top 20 prodigies of the 9 states of the sky domain had all gathered in the heavenly peak city. However, the heaven ranking of the spirit state did not start immediately. According to the rules of the heaven ranking, the 180 prodigies of the 9 states still had to go through the secret realm. Only by going through the secret realm would they be qualified to enter the heaven ranking. Now, they were waiting for the opening of the heavenly peak secret realm. When the masters of the 9 states of the sky domain arrived at the heavenly peak one after another. In a remote palace in the heavenly peak, several mysterious people were gathering. Chapter 4:12. Judging from the spatial fluctuations, the appearance of the Saint Heaven-sealed world can only be delayed for 7 days. Don't worry, everything is ready. Even if the Saint Heaven-sealed world appears now, it won't affect the plan. If the plan succeeds, the heaven domain will be in complete chaos and the end of the world will be near. The mysterious people gathered and after a simple discussion, they disappeared silently. Countless Emperor Realm Masters from the 9 states gathered in the divine Sky City, but no one noticed the whereabouts of the mysterious people. 7 days passed in a flash. On this day, at dawn, a mysterious mist filled the void in the distance of the Saint Heaven Peak. Lightning flashed and thunder roared in the mist, faintly showing signs of a strange phenomenon. The Saint Heaven-sealed world has appeared. An Emperor Realm Master's eyes were as clear as a mirror, clearly reflecting the situation in the mist. An ancient stone palace could be vaguely seen in the mist. After passing through the stone temple, one could enter the Saint Heaven-sealed world. It was rumored that the Saint Heaven-sealed world was left behind by an ancient god. There were countless treasures in it, including many divine artifacts and inheritances of the gods. Of course, there were many opportunities, but there were also many dangers. Many of the geniuses who participated in the heaven ranking had met with misfortune. Those who participated in the heaven ranking quickly enter the sealed world to train. A majestic voice sounded. It was the voice of an ancient Emperor Realm Master. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Immediately, figures broke through the void and escaped from the divine Sky City. 180 geniuses from the 9 states rushed into the mist and entered the ancient temple. Swoosh. That fog only appeared for a short few dozen breaths before it quietly disappeared without a trace. The masters from the various forces in the divine Sky City waited quietly. Generally speaking, the geniuses who passed the trial would be sent out of the Saint Heaven-sealed world in 4 or 5 days. Boom! After entering the ancient temple, Qin Yu appeared on a barren land after a moment of darkness. When Qin Yu appeared, there was a deafening roar of thunder in the sky. A bolt of lightning as thick as a bucket fell from the sky with destructive power. Qin Yu immediately sensed it, and purple lightning flashed on his body. A lightning dragon lunged out, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, and swallowing the lightning bolt that came crashing down. Qin Yu looked around and flew in a certain direction. If he wanted to pass the secret territory trial, he had to find the Heaven Roll Ancient Token hidden in the secret territory. The Heaven Roll Ancient Token contained a special power. Only by entering the 9 states Heaven Roll with the Heaven Roll Ancient Token would one be able to obtain the power of the divine pulse of fortune. Roar! Not long after Qin Yu started flying, a series of beast roars could be heard. An exotic beast whose entire body was scarlet red, as if it was burning with flames, suddenly soared into the sky from the ground and pounced at Qin Yu. Rank 8 Martial Emperor? Qin Yu was a little surprised. Although he had been to Divine Sky City before, it was his first time in this mystery land. He didn't expect that there would be such a powerful beast here. Even though it didn't seem to have gained sentience, it was still a mystery. Even so, this level of battle power was already very astonishing. Qin Yu unleashed the Azure Dragon battling the heavens, and his cultivation immediately soared. The sky-splitting spear appeared, and he charged toward the beast. Rumble! An earth-shattering battle began, and destructive power engulfed the entire region. However, the battle did not last for long before it ended. That rank 8 Martial Emperor exotic beast was killed by Qin Yu. Qin Yu condensed his vital energy and stored it in his spatial ring. He planned to let the skeleton ghost king absorb it after he left. Following that, Qin Yu encountered many more exotic beasts. However, their strength was not as terrifying as before. They were all rank 6 or 7 Martial Emperors. Occasionally, he would encounter a rank 8 Martial Emperor or above. Apart from those exotic beasts, he also encountered all kinds of extremely difficult-to-detect restrictions and barriers on his way. Even with Qin Yu's attainments in spirit formations, he still unknowingly fell into them. He had to use a lot of methods before he managed to escape. As Qin Yu killed the exotic beasts and broke through the restrictions and barriers, he continued onward. Of the geniuses that had entered the secret realm, many of them had already found the heaven-ranking ancient token. Splash! In the sky above a 1,000-miles-wide river, a youth with an ancient treasured blade on his waist smashed a rank 9 Martial Emperor Black Dragon to death with 2 punches. Then, he chopped down with his hand, and the vast river was split apart by the blade aura. A stone platform appeared at the bottom of the river. On the stone platform, there was a simple and unadorned token floating. That simple and unadorned token was the heaven-ranking ancient token. The figure of the youth with the treasured blade flashed, and he appeared before the stone platform. He broke through the barrier around the stone platform and grabbed at the heaven-ranking ancient token. Amen? Suddenly, the youth with the treasured blade seemed to have sensed something. Ka! The treasured blade was unsheathed. A dazzling saber light burst out, covering the sky and covering the sun. The space within 500 kilometers was filled with solid saber chi. Kacha! Bursts of cracking sounds were heard. Unknowingly, a pitch-black mysterious ancient rune had appeared in the sky. It covered the sky, as if it wanted to imprison the youth with the treasured blade. However, they were all shattered by the saber energy of the lone island youth. Sneaky scoundrel, come out! After the youth with the treasured blade put away the heaven-ranking ancient token, his eyes were extremely sharp. His gaze was as cold as the blade aura, as if it could tear apart the void. He wanted to see which idiot dared to make a move on him. As expected of one of the 5 most outstanding Taoists of this generation. Your strength is truly shocking. A cold voice sounded. The void trembled slightly, and 3 figures appeared in 3 different directions around the youth with the treasured blade. The auras of the 3 people were connected, and they faintly formed a mysterious formation. This is the demonic chi of the extraterritorial realm? The youth with the treasured blade looked at the 3 black-robed figures, whose appearances could not be seen. His gaze that was as sharp as a blade was filled with a trace of shock. The demonic chi of the extraterritorial realm could only be cultivated by the extraterritorial demon race. In other words, you are the extraterritorial demon race? Impossible. This is the sacred land of the Middle Continent, the center of the 9 continents of the Heaven Domain. How could the extraterritorial demon race sneak in? After the youth with the treasured blade recovered from his shock, his gaze turned serious. Do you think we will tell you this? The 3 extraterritorial demons sneered and immediately charged out with vast demonic might. Die! The youth with the treasured blade was the Taoist of the Tsang Wu Xing sacred land, one of the 5 strongest Taoists of this generation in the Middle Continent. After confirming the identity of the extraterritorial demon race, he did not cower and immediately attacked with all his strength. For a moment, the blade aura was like a rainbow, tearing apart everything and shattering everything. An earth-shattering battle immediately broke out. The 1,000-mile river was immediately destroyed. Extraterritorial demon race? In an ancient palace, a youth in white frowned as he looked at the 3 black-robed figures who had appeared in the palace. The evil demonic aura surrounding the 3 was the extraterritorial demon chi. Kill! After the 3 extraterritorial demons appeared, they did not waste any time and directly attacked. A violent battle broke out in the ancient palace. In an instant, the entire ancient palace turned into ashes and disappeared. Chapter 4:13. At this moment, the extraterritorial demons were quietly approaching the 180 sky prides who had entered the holy heaven's secret realm. The extraterritorial demons had a clear division of labor, and they were all rushing towards their respective targets. Some sky prides had already been targeted, and a great battle had broken out. Some didn't know that danger was coming. The countless Emperor Realm Masters gathered on the Holy Heaven Peak were also unaware of the shocking change that was happening. After all, the extraterritorial demons had invaded the Heaven Domain countless times. But at most, they had only wreaked havoc in the various broken continents and the spiritual state. They had never really invaded the Heaven Domain, let alone the Holy Heaven Peak, which was located at the core of the central state. In the void, Qin Yu, who was flying at high speed, suddenly had a slight change in his expression. There are 2 auras approaching, eh? The dragon's soul also noticed it immediately, but after sensing it carefully, the dragon's soul couldn't help but be surprised. The aura of the extraterritorial demons. Qin Yu revealed a strange look in his eyes. Why would the extraterritorial demons appear here? Or was there a ferocious beast of the extraterritorial demons in this secret realm? Soon, the result appeared in front of Qin Yu. 2 figures flew through the void. The extraterritorial demons actually invaded the Central State's Holy Heaven's secret realm. This is unprecedented, the dragon's soul said in shock. The invasion of the Emperor Palace's martial world was pardonable, after all. The spiritual state was connected to the extraterritorial battlefield. But the central state was located at the center of the entire Heaven Domain. Since the extraterritorial demons could invade here, didn't that mean that they had completely infiltrated the 9 states of the Heaven Domain? What is the plan of the ancient demon race and the extraterritorial demons? In the blink of an eye, the 2 extraterritorial demons appeared in front of him and looked at him coldly. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes, and a thoughtful look flickered in his eyes. The extraterritorial demons obviously had some plans for the invasion of the Emperor Palace's martial world. At that time, they only invaded a martial world, so Qin Yu didn't care much. But now, the Central State's Holy Heaven's secret realm was invaded. What kind of conspiracy was behind it made one's heart turn cold. Kill. After the 2 extraterritorial devils flew over, they immediately attacked. Billowing devil chi shook the heavens and the earth. Surprisingly, they were all rank 9 martial emperors. Dragon's soul, Qin Yu shouted in a low voice. The azure dragon battling the heavens was unleashed with all its might. His cultivation rapidly increased and reached rank 7 martial emperor. At the same time, a dragon roar sounded, and the dragon's soul appeared. The purple thunder divine firmament dragon appeared in the primal chaos dragon realm. The purple thunder divine firmament dragon, who had cultivated for several years in the chaos dragon realm, had recovered. His cultivation of rank 9 martial emperor was completely revealed. A dragon at the peak of 9th grade? Not good, the information is wrong. The 2 extraterritorial devils, who were charging over with surging devil might, cried out in shock. His charging speed involuntarily slowed down. Remember to search his soul. However, Qin Yu did not hesitate. He spoke to the dragon soul and the purple thunder divine firmament dragon. With a divine sword in hand, his figure flickered as he charged toward an extraterritorial demon. Roar! The purple lightning divine firmament dragon let out a roar, and the divine firmament destructive thunder surrounded its body. It was like a torrent of thunder and lightning. The dragon soul supported the purple thunder divine cloud dragon with its space-time ability. Rumble! At first, the two extraterritorial devils seemed to have the intention of retreating. However, they were immediately entangled by Qin Yu and the purple thunder divine firmament dragon. An earth-shattering battle erupted, and raging waves appeared in the sky. The demonic aura fluctuates greatly. They don't seem to have cultivated to rank 9 martial emperor normally. After exchanging several blows, the dragon's soul discovered something and sent a voice transmission to Qin Yu. Indeed, it seems like they're using the devil race's forbidden technique of instilling demonic aura into their bodies to increase their cultivation. After Qin Yu shattered the extraterritorial devil's attack with his sword, he also sensed this. However, the demonic aura contained within the extraterritorial devil's aura was extremely terrifying. If he didn't refine it step by step and forcefully use the imparting technique to contain the devil chi, he would be able to do it. It could indeed increase one's cultivation in a short period of time, but it would cost one's life. Even with the physique of the extraterritorial devils, they would not be able to withstand the extraterritorial devil's instilling. Many thoughts flashed through Qin Yu's mind. What was the extraterritorial devil's goal? Could it be that they wanted to kill him at the cost of their lives? That was not realistic. Although his aptitude was terrifying, that was all there was to it. The extraterritorial devil would not waste so much effort to deal with him. One must know that the extraterritorial devil race and the Qin Yun domain had been fighting for countless years. Their foundation was not ordinary. Even when Qin Yu was at his peak, he had killed countless extraterritorial devil race experts. However, he had not shaken the foundation of the extraterritorial devil race. Could it be that they're targeting the geniuses of the 9 prefectures' heaven ranking? Qin Yu's eyes flashed. That was possible. After all, those who had entered the Saint Heaven's secret realm were the most outstanding geniuses of the 9 prefectures. If they died, it would be a huge blow to the various forces. However, if one were to think about it, it was still somewhat inexplicable why the extraterritorial devil race would do this. No matter how strong the geniuses were, they were nothing compared to the emperors of the Qin Yun domain. If the extraterritorial devil race had already infiltrated the middle state because of this, it would not be worth it. Therefore, the extraterritorial devil race should have a more important purpose. However, Qin Yu could not figure out what their purpose was. However, there was one point. The extraterritorial devil race had already appeared. That meant that in their opinion, it did not matter even if their identity was exposed. Evil soul-devouring curse. The extraterritorial devil who was fighting with Qin Yu roared and formed a seal with his hands. A demonic seal condensed and turned into a stream of light that shot towards Qin Yu. Devour! Qin Yu narrowed his eyes and slapped out with his left hand. A huge dragon head appeared and devoured the demonic seal. It was the sky-devouring dragon seal. When he was on the spiritual state ranking, he was afraid that the 9 secrets of the battle dragon would be seen through. Therefore, Qin Yu did not use the sky-devouring dragon seal that was obvious. However, facing the extraterritorial devil race now, Qin Yu had nothing to be afraid of. It was impossible for the extraterritorial devil race to recognize him. Even if they recognized him, it would be fine. Qin Yu would not leave anyone alive. Spacetime annihilation formation. While using the sky-devouring dragon seal, Qin Yu approached in a flash. An ancient and mysterious killing intent ancient formation immediately engulfed the extraterritorial devil race. Demon slaying sword, kill! The moment the spacetime annihilation formation was used, the demon-slaying sword in Qin Yu's hand emitted a bloodthirsty sword cry. A blood-red sword light slashed towards the extraterritorial devil race like lightning. Ever since the evil soul-devouring curse was devoured by Qin Yu, the extraterritorial devil race had lost the initiative. At this moment, under Qin Yu's continuous attacks, he was immediately heavily injured. His cultivation, which was already a little unstable, immediately became chaotic and even a little violent. The demon-slaying sword had an astonishing destructive power against the extraterritorial devil race. Damn it, die! Although the extraterritorial devil race was heavily injured, he did not panic at all. Instead, the cold and sinister gaze under the black robe became resolute. He attacked Qin Yu crazily as if he wanted to drag Qin Yu down with him. Chapter 4:14. Seal. Qin Yu would not let him have his way. He slashed with the demon slayer sword, causing his injuries to worsen. The divine sealing light was cast, sealing the extraterritorial demon. Soul-devouring curse. The moment the seal was cast, Qin Yu immediately took out the demon's soul and searched it. This is, after seeing the extraterritorial demon's soul, Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Roar. At this moment, the battle on the dragon soul's side also ended. The purple thunder divine dragon and the dragon soul's space-time superpower completely suppressed the extraterritorial demon. In the end, the purple thunder divine dragon destroyed him with divine lightning. The dragon soul took out the demon soul. So that's how it is. After refining the demon soul, the dragon soul's eyes shone brightly. Qin Yu and the dragon soul looked at each other with joy in their eyes. From the soul search of the two extraterritorial demons, they learned that the extraterritorial demons were eyeing the divine pulse of fortune in the middle state. The divine pulse of fortune gathered the fortune of billions of living beings in the 9 states of the heaven domain. When the divine pulse was prosperous, the fortune of the 9 states would be strong. When the divine pulse was weak, the fortune of the 9 states would be weak. Therefore, in the history of the heaven domain, there were many people who went to extremes and wanted to rob the divine pulse of fortune, but no one succeeded. Qin Yu was one of those people. In Qin Yu's previous life, he had mistaken the divine pulse for the dragon pulse. However, after confirming that it was the divine pulse, Qin Yu did not stop. At that time, he also wanted to use the power of the divine pulse of fortune to break through the limit of the Emperor realm. Unfortunately, he ended up seriously injured, and even his own fortune was damaged. The reason for his failure was that he did not find the origin of the divine pulse of fortune. Therefore, even though Qin Yu had taken out the divine pulse of fortune, he could not seal it and it dissipated between heaven and earth. Later, he was seriously injured by the power of heaven and earth. The extraterritorial demons had gotten the news from somewhere. They knew that the origin of the divine pulse of fortune was in the Saint Heaven's secret land. So they had planned for a long time, with the help of the primordial demons, to cross the void and sneak into the secret land. He wanted to destroy the heaven domain's divine veins of destiny and cause the heaven domain to decline. If this news is true, then it's a great opportunity. The dragon soul opened the origin dragon world. After the purple thunder divine firmament dragon returned to the origin dragon world, it excitedly flew towards Qin Yu. In Qin Yu's previous life, the dragon soul naturally knew that he had tried to imprison the divine pulse of fortune. Although Qin Yu had failed back then, things were different now. Because Qin Yu had mastered the art of stealing heaven's fortune. The heaven-stealing fortune art could rob others of their providence, so robbing the divine meridians of providence should not be a problem. Although he might not be able to plunder the fate of the entire Qinyun realm, it was enough for Qin Yu. This is indeed a great opportunity. Qin Yu smiled. What was his purpose for participating in the 9 prefectures' heavenly ranking? It was all for the sake of seizing the power of the divine meridian of destiny. Now that there was a possibility of directly plundering the power of providence, Qin Yu naturally would not let go of the opportunity. The benefits of the power of providence could be seen from the great creation art that he had obtained in the Sky Qilan city's ancient ruins. Sky Burier Sword Deity had obtained the inheritance of the ancient immortal's power, but the great creation art had fallen into Qin Yu's hands. If this was not fate playing tricks on people, then what was it? After all, the great creation art should have fallen into Sky Burier Sword Deity's hands. Even if Sky Burier Sword Deity did not discover it, the Golden Holy Lion would definitely remind him. That was most likely the reason why the stone statue flew away. However, looking at the extraterritorial demon that had been killed, Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. What's wrong? Is there a problem? The dragon's soul could not help but ask when it saw this. Destroying the divine pulse of destiny of the Qin Yun realm is such a confidential matter. The extraterritorial demons should have done it secretly, right? Then why did these two people attack me directly? Qin Yu could not understand this. They had found the heavenly rankings token and would stay for a few days at most before leaving the secret realm. The extraterritorial demons only needed to hide for a few days and wait for them to leave. There was no need for them to attack him and expose their identities. The way I see it, there are only two reasons. Firstly, these two extraterritorial demons were both rank 9 martial emperors. Thus, they wanted to kill you directly to prevent you from spoiling their plans. Secondly, after the 9 provinces' heavenly ranking ends, the power of providence will hinder them from destroying the divine pulse of destiny. If it's the second reason, then they will definitely attack everyone who enters the secret realm. The dragon's soul guessed. They did not obtain an answer to Qin Yu's doubts from the memories of the two extraterritorial demons. They only knew that the extraterritorial demons planned to destroy the divine pulse of destiny. Forget it. No matter what the reason is, let's go take a look at the divine pulse of destiny first. Qin Yu quickly discarded these guesses. After he completely concealed his aura, he landed on the ground and flew quickly in a certain direction. 4 hours later, Qin Yu arrived in front of a mountain. That mountain towered into the clouds and was surrounded by spiritual energy. It was green all year round, and at a glance, it was almost the same as the holy sky peak. Seeing this mountain, Qin Yu's speed slowed down. He was more and more convinced that the origin of the divine pulse of destiny was here. Qin Yu had seen with his own eyes that the divine pulse of destiny had appeared in the holy sky city. Every time the 9 provinces' heavenly ranking ended, the holy sky city's power of providence would be added to the geniuses on the heavenly ranking. Connecting all these together, the possibility was really quite high. However, at this time, he could clearly sense that there was a monstrous demonic aura surrounding the peak of the mountain. The pure spiritual energy of the entire mountain was continuously gathering at the peak. In the void of the mountain, there were 9 huge vortexes. Each vortex was thousands of feet long and formed an ancient array with the mountain as the center. In each vortex there was a faint demonic shadow. Each demonic shadow was emitting a vast demonic aura. Celestial Demon Sky Prison Array. After Qin Yu took a look of shock flashed in his eyes. The 9 Demon Sky Prison Array was an ancient array from the primordial era. He had only seen it in some primordial mystic realms. Even he could not set up this ancient array. It was rumored that if this ancient array was set up by 9 celestial demons, it would have the power to kill immortals. Now that the extraterritorial demons had set up the Celestial Demon Sky Prison Array here, it was very likely that they had already sensed the origin of the divine pulse of destiny. It seemed that the extraterritorial demons' goal was to see if they could capture the divine pulse of destiny. If they could get it, with the strength of the entire heavenly domain's providence, it would definitely be able to nourish the extraterritorial demons. Qin Yu did not act rashly. He was waiting there calmly. Boom, boom, Less than half a day had passed while they were waiting. In the celestial demon sky prison array, the 9 demonic shadows immediately let out earth-shattering roars. Countless mysterious demonic runes spread out in the 9 vortexes. It was like a huge demonic net that sealed the entire sky. Swoosh, swoosh. Qin Yu's expression changed slightly as he watched with rapt attention. On the mountain, 9 figures flew into the sky and directly charged into the 9 demonic shadows. Qin Yu's eyelids twitched slightly. He could clearly see that the 9 figures immediately merged with the 9 demonic shadows when they touched them. No, it should be said that they melted. In the blink of an eye, the 9 figures were reduced to ashes and dissipated. The terrifying demonic aura emitted by the 9 demonic shadows became even more vast. Chapter 4:15. It's about to begin. In the divine dragon ancient seal, the dragon soul's eyes lit up. He had been forming seals with both hands, and the space-time divine ability circled around his body. He was ready to strike at any time. Qin Yu's eyes focused. He was vigilant of his surroundings while paying attention to the changes in the celestial demon heaven prison array. Although he couldn't set up the celestial demon heaven prison array, he had a certain understanding of it. He knew when was the best time to strike. From the peak of the mountain, demons flew into the sky from time to time and melted into the 9 demonic shadows. There were probably many demons on the peak of the mountain, but Qin Yu wasn't afraid. Even if an Emperor Realm Master could enter the Saint Heaven's secret realm, his cultivation must be suppressed to the martial Emperor Realm. Therefore, Qin Yu might have to face many extraterritorial demons, but they would only be of the martial Emperor Realm. With Qin Yu's preparations for the 9 states heaven ranking, there was nothing to be afraid of. Of course, being fearless was one thing. Apart from plundering the divine vein of fortune, Qin Yu's goal was to plunder the divine vein of fortune. If possible, he wanted to stop the extraterritorial demons from destroying the divine pulse of fortune. After all, the destruction of the divine pulse of fortune would be a disaster for the heaven domain. Qin Yu didn't want the extraterritorial demons to succeed in their plot and the heaven domain to collapse. The invasion of the demon race wouldn't benefit him in the future. At least, before his cultivation recovered to its peak, he couldn't let the demon race's plan succeed. Qin Yu was like a hunter, quietly waiting for an opportunity, while discussing the action plan with the dragon soul. At this time, all the Sky Prides who had entered the Saint Heaven's secret realm were fighting. Moreover, an unforeseen event that none of the Sky Prides in the Saint Heaven's secret realm noticed. Swish! Above the giant river, 1,000 feet long snow-white saber light fell like lightning. 2 extraterritorial demons were killed in one slash. The battle that had lasted for several hours came to an end. The youth with the ancient saber on Wu Xing's body was bleeding from the corner of his mouth. But the saber aura on his body was getting more and more terrifying. It soared into the sky and shattered the wind and clouds. How did the extraterritorial demons sneak in? Looking at the 3 extraterritorial demons killed by him, the youth with the ancient saber couldn't hide his solemn. He wanted to leave them alive, but unfortunately, he didn't have the strength to crush them. Swoosh! Just as the youth with the ancient Wu Xing, 3 pitch-black ancient talismans emerged from the bodies of the 3 extraterritorial devils. They merged into one and entered the body of the young man with the ancient saber. The youth with the ancient saber swish! 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 After a short while, the young man's expression returned to normal as he muttered to himself. Swish! 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 After capturing the corpses of the 3 extraterritorial devils, the young man flew up into the sky and left. To time! Swish! 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 Within the ruins of an ancient hall, A white-clothed young man was also struck by a pitch-black ancient talisman after killing 2 people who were attacking him from all sides. Similarly, the Taoist from the fierce Wind Divine Dynasty was in a daze. Swish. He seemed to have forgotten about the swish. 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 In a ravaged valley, a woman in green was dealing with the attacks of 2 extraterritorial demons. She was severely injured. Just as she couldn't hold on any longer, one of the extraterritorial demons was behind her. He formed a seal and sent a swish of black ancient Wu Xing into the woman's body. Confusion appeared in the woman's eyes. The 2 extraterritorial demons didn't seem to notice such a fatal flaw. They only attacked again when the woman in green came back to her senses. Scenes like this kept playing out in this secret realm. Some heaven's prides were indeed killed by the extraterritorial demons. Some heaven's prides killed the extraterritorial demons. Some heaven's prides were still fighting to the death. Some heaven's prides were spared by the extraterritorial demons. But no matter which one it was, the heaven's prides were struck with a swish of black ancient Wu Xing. Of course, those who were completely dead were excluded. Boom! Suddenly, a series of violent explosions could be faintly heard from the distant horizon. The explosions seemed to have come from the 9th heaven and were about to pierce through the sky. All the heaven's prides in the secret realm immediately sensed it. Those heaven's prides who were still fighting were overjoyed. They knew that the Emperor Realm Masters in Divine Sky City had finally discovered the invasion of the extraterritorial demons and were preparing to break into the secret realm. What surprised those heaven's prides was that the extraterritorial demons had obviously sensed it too. But they weren't moved at all and continued to attack them crazily. It seems that they are preparing to attack. Below the mountain, Qin Yu sensed the demon chi fluctuations that were several times more intense than before. His eyes flickered slightly. The top emperors of many heavenly domains had gathered in Divine Sky City. It wouldn't be difficult to break into this secret realm and send reinforcements in. The extraterritorial demons would definitely attack. Sure enough, it didn't take long for the celestial demon heaven prison array to shrink. In the celestial demon heaven prison array, there was a ball of 9-colored light that was faintly flickering. The ball of 9-colored light kept changing forms. Sometimes it turned into mountains and rivers, and sometimes it turned into exotic beasts. It looked quite mysterious. Is that the source of the divine pulse of fortune? Qin Yu's eyes flickered. Qin Yu had never seen any of the divine veins of fortune's origins before. In fact, no one in the entire heavenly domain might have seen it before. Of course, since the extraterritorial demons were preparing to draw in the net, Qin Yu didn't just stand there and watch. He immediately used the heaven evasion technique to quietly pass through the restrictions on the mountain and went all the way to the peak of the mountain. At the peak of the mountain, there were more than 30 martial Emperor Realm demons, all of whom had a cultivation of 8th or 9th grade. More than 20 of them were working together to control the array, while the rest were nervously looking at the celestial demon heaven prison array. No one noticed Qin Yu, who had quietly snuck in. After all, there were so many restrictions outside. Attack! The ball of 9-colored light was sealed by the celestial demon heaven prison array until it was only 100 feet wide. Qin Yu held the demon slayer sword in his hand, jumped up, and slapped the ground with his left hand. In an instant, more than 10 ancient killing arrays spread out and covered the peak of the mountain. Who is it? At this moment, the more than 10 extraterritorial demons, who looked like guards, were shocked and rushed toward Qin Yu. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the sky, and the vast divine firmament whirled. Devastating thunder exploded from Qin Yu's body. The purple lightning divine firmament dragon appeared with a vast dragon's power. Die! The moment the array was set up, Qin Yu held the blood sword in his hand and attacked like a god of death with a murderous aura. The 2 extraterritorial demons closest to him were directly killed by the sword. They didn't have time to react at all. Qin Yu didn't stop at all and immediately charged toward the extraterritorial demons that were rushing toward him. This time, Qin Yu had set up more than 10 ancient killing arrays and had the absolute advantage. Therefore, even though he was outnumbered, he didn't fall into a disadvantageous position. There were even extraterritorial demons who died from time to time. These ancient arrays were all meticulously prepared by Qin Yu. Now that Qin Yu had used all of them together, their power was naturally extremely terrifying. Chapter 4:16. He can actually subdue the dragon race? Where did this brat come from? In just a few breaths, 5 of the dozen extraterritorial demon guards were killed. As for the remaining 7 people, they were also gradually defeated by the joint forces of Qin Yu and the Purple Thunder Divine Firmament Dragon. The 20 extraterritorial demon guards, who were focused on controlling the Fiend God Heaven Prison Array, were horrified. What should we do? If this goes on, our plan will be disrupted by him. The Emperor of the Heaven Domain should be here soon. Let's stall him first. The 20 extraterritorial demon guards, who were focused on controlling the array and gradually sealing the 9-colored light ball in the array. 10 extraterritorial demon guards walked out and joined the battle. Unfortunately, even with the addition of the 10 extraterritorial demon guards, they could only barely resist Qin Yu. Being inside these dozen-plus formation arrays, it didn't matter if there were more or less opponents of the same level as him. To Qin Yu, it was all meaningless. Gotcha! At this moment, countless cracks appeared in the sky and covered the entire sky. In the next moment, along with a loud bang, the cracks shattered and a pitch-black ancient cave appeared. With a burst of air-rending sounds, hundreds of figures with powerful auras descended from the pitch-black ancient cave. They were the high-level martial emperors of the Heaven Domain who had come to help. Among the martial emperors there were dozens of figures. They were obviously Emperor Realm Masters who had suppressed their cultivation. When the Sky Prides in the sealed world saw this scene, they were all overjoyed. The extraterritorial demon guards no longer fought and retreated. This time, it was the Sky Prides of the Heaven Domain who risked their lives to stall the extraterritorial demon guards. It's really the extraterritorial demon guards. Kill! A bone-chilling murderous roar sounded. The martial emperors who had entered the sealed world immediately rushed out with a terrifying murderous aura. This fluctuation, the fortune force, could it be? The Emperor Realm Masters who had suppressed their cultivation had cold murderous looks on their faces. But soon, they sensed the Fiend God Heaven Prison Array and the Fortune Force Divine Vein. They immediately thought of the extraterritorial demon guards' intentions. Their expressions changed and they immediately flew away. They're finally here. The extraterritorial demon guards who were setting up the array sensed the arrival of the Emperor Realm Masters from the Heaven Domain. Not only did they not panic, but joy also appeared in their eyes. It was as if they had been waiting for this scene. Dragon Soul attack! After killing several more extraterritorial devil clansmen, Qin Yu did not notice the abnormality of those extraterritorial devil clansmen, because he also sensed the Emperor Realm Master's arrival. Time reversal of time. Divine ability Space Rend. The Dragon Soul, which had been preparing all this while, suddenly made its move. A terrifying space-time ability covered most of the sky. The Fiend God Heaven Imprisoning formation was greatly affected, and even started to distort as it operated. Gotcha! The expressions of the dozen or so extraterritorial devils changed drastically, but an even more fatal situation occurred. Rend! Bye! However, at almost the same instant, an ancient formation appeared and devoured the 9-colored light. From the looks of it, it was as if the ball of 9-colored light had walked right into the net. Escape! Qin Yu, who was in the middle of more than 10 killing formations, smiled. In the next instant, He disappeared from the peak of the mountain and appeared in front of the ancient formation in the sky. Although the ancient formation had sealed the nine-colored ball of light, it was about to break free. After all, the extraterritorial devil race had mobilized more than 20 people to set up the celestial devil heaven imprisoning formation to seal him. With the formation that Qin Yu had prepared, it was naturally unable to suppress it. At this moment Qin Yu, who had arrived in a flash, made his move. Steal heaven's fortune, plunder! Without any hesitation, Qin Yu slammed his hands into the ancient array. In his soul, the celestial creation seal trembled and immediately sucked in the nine-colored light. Success! Qin Yu could not hide the joy in his eyes when he felt the nine-colored light being suppressed by the immortal seal of creation. Everything went smoothly as he had expected. He successfully set up the formation first and fought the extraterritorial devils with the purple thunder divine firmament dragon to attract their attention. The dragon soul made a move at the critical moment and used its divine ability to break the celestial devil heaven imprisoning formation. After that, Qin Yu suppressed the nine-colored light with lightning speed. Damn it, we can't let him ruin the plan. Kill him! It was only then that the extraterritorial devil race reacted. Their faces immediately turned ferocious as they charged at Qin Yu crazily. Explode! A cold smile appeared on Qin Yu's face. The dozen or so ancient formations formed a chain and exploded. The entire mountain was completely annihilated and disappeared in an instant. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the next moment, the purple thunder divine firmament dragon, who had suffered serious injuries, was affected. It rushed out of the destroyed area and returned to the source dragon world at lightning speed. The teleportation array that Qin Yu had prepared earlier appeared and disappeared in an instant. Since an Emperor Realm Master had arrived, Qin Yu would not stay here. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Immediately after, waves of demon qi appeared from the aftermath of the destructive killing array. The extraterritorial devil race were targeted by Qin Yu, but they were not as lucky as the purple thunder divine firmament dragon. They were all in a sorry state and were severely injured. However, it was not fatal to say that they were injured. Space fluctuation. Teleportation array? Did they plan this long ago? Damn it! The faces of the extraterritorial devil clans that were brimming with killing intent immediately turned extremely ugly when they saw the empty space. The plan that they had carefully prepared was ruined at the last moment. Suddenly, dozens of vast divine auras descended. It was the Emperor Realm Masters from the Heaven Domain who had suppressed their cultivation had rushed over. It is indeed the celestial devil heaven imprisoning formation. The fluctuation of the Providence energy is so strong. Did they succeed? Has someone already been here? Those Emperor Realm Masters saw the scene that had obviously happened and carefully sensed it. As for the extraterritorial devil race, they were merely martial emperors. In their eyes they were nothing. Even though they had suppressed their cultivation to the martial emperor realm, they still did not take the extraterritorial devil race seriously. Secret technique of the dragon race, divine firmament world extinguishing thunder, array fluctuation. Among those Emperor Realm Masters, a figure carefully sensed the residual fluctuations of the battle and a strange look appeared in his eyes. This person was Shi Tiangang. Xin Feng has been here before? Shi Tiangang's eyes were filled with surprise. Judging from Qin Yu's combat strength on the spiritual state battle list, he should have the whereabouts of a 9th-grade martial emperor. However, Qin Yu could make more than 20 extraterritorial devil race into such a sorry state. Shi Tiangang did not believe it. Let's deal with them first. At this time, an ancient emperor from a great sect in the central region spoke with a cold look in his eyes. The extraterritorial devil race had invaded the holy heaven's secret realm. If they did not find out how the extraterritorial devil race invaded, the forces in the heaven domain would not be at ease. That's right. The other Emperor Realm Masters agreed and immediately prepared to take action. Attack. However, at this time, the 20 extraterritorial devil race knew that there was no way to escape and directly pounced on those Emperor Realm Masters. Chapter 4:17. Sizzle. 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 The Emperors were about to make a move when they suddenly found that the extraterritorial demons were burning with black demon flames. Is this demon soul self-ignition? An Emperor Realm Master who was about to make a move raised his eyebrows slightly. Self-ignition of the demon soul was equivalent to the complete destruction of one's soul. The extraterritorial demons were so resolute in their actions, which was a little unexpected. However, the more resolute they were, the more the extraterritorial demons were hiding. This cast a shadow over the hearts of the Emperor Realm Masters. Some of them suddenly turned around and immediately flew away. Their goal was the other extraterritorial demons in this sealed world. Unfortunately, their reaction was still a little too slow. When more than 20 extraterritorial demons had self-ignited their demon souls, the other demons also self-ignited and died, dissipating from this world. In the end, not a single demon was able to leave this sealed world. None of the Emperors of the Heaven Domain caught a single extraterritorial demon alive. This matter made the Emperors of the Heaven Domain quite concerned. They immediately gathered all the geniuses of the 9 states. There were only more than 130 geniuses who were still alive. The various forces immediately escorted them out of the sealed world, regardless of the heartache. Qin Yu was also found by Shi Tiangang less than an hour after he left. Although dozens of geniuses had died this time, Qin Yu and Sun Xiu were safe and sound. This made Shi Tiangang heave a sigh of relief. He personally led Qin Yu and Sun Xiu out of the sealed world. After that, the Emperors of the 9 states carefully investigated the traces of the demon race in this sealed world. 3 days later. The 9 states' heaven ranking this year has been cancelled? Didn't they say that the extraterritorial demons were lucky to enter the sealed world, and that the matter was already over? Now it seems that the matter is over. It is most likely that the big shots deliberately spread the news. Indeed, I'm afraid the real situation is far beyond what we know. Maybe even those big shots can't control it. But what exactly happened? The surviving geniuses and the 9 states masters who had gathered in the city were waiting for the emperors to finish the matter of the sealed world. A shocking piece of news suddenly spread. Countless people were puzzled by the news of the heaven list being cancelled. Although more than 40 of the prodigies who entered the mystic realm had died this time, the mystic realm was still in the mystic realm. However, the 40 or so people who had died were the weakest among the Sky Pride. It did not seem to affect the rankings of the 9 states' heaven ranking at all. However, the Emperor Realm Masters did not give any explanation. This year's heaven ranking had come to an end. Therefore, with the cancellation of the 9 states' heaven ranking, all kinds of rumors spread like a hurricane. From the Holy Heaven Peak, it quickly spread to the central continent and the 9 continents of the Heaven Domain. The billions of cultivators in the 9 states were shocked. Inside the ancient palace, Qin Yu, Sun Xiu, and the others were summoned by Shi Tiangang. They were about to return to the spiritual state. Palace Master, what happened? Sun Xiu couldn't help but ask when she saw the solemn expressions of the Emperor Realm Elders and the younger generation looking at each other. Qin Yu's expression changed slightly, and he also looked over. Although he was curious in terms of status, it was better for Sun Xiu to ask. In the Holy Heaven's secret realm, we found the ancient demon clan's forbidden space spell. From this, we can infer that the ancient demon clan should have joined forces with the extraterritorial demon clan. The ancient demon clan used to be a clan of our heaven domain, but their ambition grew and they were removed from the heaven domain. Based on their understanding of the heaven domain, since they joined forces with the extraterritorial demon clan, I'm afraid that they have already infiltrated other places in the 9 states. Among them, our spiritual state is the most dangerous, so we must go back to guard against the invasion of the extraterritorial demon clan. Shi Tiangong's expression was a little solemn. The extraterritorial demon clan's actions were so big that they must have a big plan. Now, the heaven list ranking of the younger generation was naturally not so important. What's more, no one knew if the extraterritorial demon clan had other tricks up their sleeves. Therefore, after these top Emperor Realm Masters discussed, they decided to cancel the 9 states heaven ranking this year. Then, did you find out the purpose of the extraterritorial demon clan's invasion of the Holy Heaven Secret Realm? I feel that the extraterritorial demon clan's purpose is not to attack us. Sun Xiu hesitated slightly and spoke about what she had encountered in the secret realm. Although she had the power to fight enemies above her level, she was facing 2 martial emperors of the 8th or 9th grade. Even if she had many tricks up her sleeve, she still could not deal with them. However, the strange thing was that the 2 extraterritorial demon clans' strength was clearly much stronger than her, but they did not kill her. From the looks of it, he was purely trying to stall her. But this time, the extraterritorial demon clan did kill many geniuses. After listening to Sun Xiu's words, Qin Yu was slightly surprised and said, "Speaking of which, the extraterritorial demon clan's actions this time indeed made him feel rather strange. I can't figure it out either." Sun Xiu frowned and thought hard. Naturally, she knew about this matter. This time, the spiritual state's casualties were the most tragic. 20 people went in, and in the end, only 10 people came out alive. Those 10 people originally did not have the qualifications to enter the top 20. It was only because of the disaster in Sky Chi City that they did not make up the numbers. This time, the extraterritorial demon clan seemed to have killed those with weak cultivation and poor aptitude. Could their purpose be to help the 9 states of the heaven domain eliminate the weak? We still don't know if the extraterritorial demon clan has any other intentions, but we have found out one thing. They probably invaded the Sage Heaven's secret realm for the heavenly domain's divine pulse of fortune. Shi Tiangang said slowly. Divine pulse of fortune? Could it be that they succeeded? Sun Xiu, Shi Jingtian, and the others were all shocked. The divine pulse of fortune was related to the rise and fall of billions of living beings in the 9 states. By doing this, the extraterritorial demon clan wanted to destroy the foundation of the heavenly domain. When we went there were already people fighting with the extraterritorial demon clan. From the looks of it, they should have stopped them, but we don't know the specific details yet. As he spoke, Shi Tiangong's gaze faintly glanced at Qin Yu. The person fighting with the extraterritorial demon clan there was most likely Qin Yu. As for whether Qin Yu had joined forces with anyone, they did not know. I see. The extraterritorial demon clan has their eyes on the divine pulse of fortune, so they cancelled the heaven ranking of the 9 states. Sun Xiu seemed to have a sudden realization. After all, when the heaven ranking ended, the divine pulse of fortune would be added to the elites on the heaven ranking. If the extraterritorial demon clan had not left and was waiting for that moment, then the loss would outweigh the gain. Since the extraterritorial demon clan had the ability to sneak into the Sage Heaven's secret realm silently. With the countless martial artists of the 9 states gathered in the Divine Sky City, it was inevitable that there would be no extraterritorial demon clan. Instead of taking the risk to check one by one, it was better to cancel the heaven ranking of the 9 states and investigate in secret. Let's go. Shi Tiangang did not say anything else. With Sun Xiu and Qin Yu's talent, they would definitely be able to enter the heaven ranking of the 9 states in the next heaven ranking. The addition of the divine pulse of fortune was not in a hurry. However, Shi Tiangang did not know that the divine pulse of fortune of the extraterritorial demon clan had already landed on Qin Yu. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.